My name is Will Spencer, and you're listening to the Renaissance of Men podcast, a place for extended, in-depth discussions about the rebirth of virtuous masculinity happening around the world today, as well as some other topics. My guest this week is one of my favorite comedy creators, with a reminder to not take it all so seriously. I don't know much about him but his name, his accent, and his point of view. How much more do you need, really? Please welcome from YouTube, Cool Hand James.
This is a time of transformation. As old ways fall, men are called to rise, to heal our lives, grow strong, and transcend our limitations. In tribes around the world, drawing on the best of masculinity from all of time, a new day is beginning. This is the Renaissance of Men. You are the Renaissance.
How many of your interactions are mediated? What I mean by that is, how much time do you spend outside interacting with people face-to-face versus how much time do you spend on the internet? Our interaction right now, this is mediated. We're not actually talking. And I'm not talking to you. In fact, I'm sitting here at my desk in my apartment on a rather nice evening, speaking into a microphone. But it feels really personal, doesn't it? Like we know each other, or at least that you know me a bit better than I know you. This is the magic of mass media, to create the illusion of human connection where none exists. This illusion is created by many factors. First, you can't see the many other people listening to this podcast. If we were in a theater, you'd see that you're part of an audience, but you can't see them, so it feels personal. Second, the volume. Again, if I were on stage, you'd hear the amplified sound and the echo in the room and know subconsciously that I wasn't speaking to you directly. But with microphones and sound mixing, I can make it sound almost like I'm sitting in the room next to you. These two factors trick the brain into personalizing an impersonal experience, something that isn't just new, but very new. As in decades new, as in 1950s and 60s new, the first time mass media became personalized via televisions in the home and especially radios in the car. I could do an entire podcast episode on this subject alone, but consider just how powerful it was that in the 1950s and 60s, as baby boomers came of age, they were the first people to ever be able to enjoy mass media like music and moving pictures in privacy. That's how new it is. We take it for granted now, but as far as human history is concerned, it just happened yesterday, and our brains haven't quite caught up. So as 2020 hit and we all shifted definitively indoors on a variety of different screens, mass media became even more personalized. And to help us make sense of the swirling reality, we turn to these people called influencers. Now again, the illusion of mass media is to create the feeling of a personal connection where none exists. So the influencers we all listen to, including me, participate in that dynamic, some consciously, but most will not be as obvious to state it outright. Why? Because the illusion is profitable. If you like me and trust me, and I learn how to manipulate your emotions, I can turn that into money. In modern parlance, this is called grifting, the skillful manipulation of emotions by influencers for profit, and some people are excellent at it. This is not the same thing as making money online. Delivering real value in digital or physical products is very different. Grifting is when you stir up people's emotions, usually to sympathy, guilt, or outrage, and skim the profits off the top. It's not new, but it's widespread, and it's very, very lucrative. I first noticed this in the manosphere/red pill world, where influencers inject poisonous outrage into their largely male audiences and then sell them something on the back half. Or they accept YouTube streaming super chats from their agitated listeners. Once you see this happening, you'll never look at celebrity influencers on the left or the right the same way again. Which brings me to my guest this week. I only know him by his creative name, Cool Hand James, and he's a YouTube content creator that I've been enjoying for a while, the most entertaining one I regularly follow. He has a bloodhound sense for grifters and a laser-sharp targeting system for their scams, plus a gravelly voice, a thick British accent, deadpan delivery, and a devil-may-care attitude for calling out creatures of the online ecosystem that monetize attention through manipulation. Now, here's the thing. I expected to have a brief, comedic conversation with James, assuming that's his name, and share a few laughs and maybe a couple barbs at a few characters we both dislike. But we actually ended up in a more than 3-hour thoughtful conversation about the realities of these online ecosystems we participate in. Yes, I laughed. A lot. But James also got me thinking about how easy it is to take people seriously online who shouldn't be taken seriously at all. Not even a little bit. Because real life is out there, and maybe we all could use a bit more of it. In our conversation, James and I discussed his background and how he became a comedic commentator, the definition of grifting, how it works, and some examples like Tim Pool, Jack Murphy, Brian Williams, Matt Walsh, and others. The differences between American and UK politics, Ukraine, Germany, and the EU, why he's a fan of trans women and not the 19th Amendment, and finally the story of how he got banned from YouTube for cyberbullying the President of the United States, Joe Biden. If you enjoy the Renaissance of Men podcast, thank you. If you listened to my Will's Notes episode last week, you'll know that my downloads increased 50% in the month of March, which is amazing, and it's all because of you. Please continue to leave those 5-star ratings on Spotify and 5-star ratings and reviews on Apple, and share these episodes with friends. The Renaissance of Men podcast is sponsored by Reformation Coffee, makers of fine hand-roasted beans by a pastor in Springfield, Missouri. Visit reformationcoffee.com and enter the code SUBFREE to get 1 free bag of coffee with your monthly subscription. Once again, visit reformationcoffee.com and enter the code SUBFREE to get 1 free bag of coffee with your monthly subscription. Finally, on Saturday, April 15th from 3 to 6 p.m. here in Phoenix, Arizona, Annalise from Feminine Not Feminist and I will be hosting a meet and greet and live podcast recording in Chandler. We'll be talking about Christian dating, the R-word idol, motherhood, and Annalise is reading Alison Armstrong's The Queen's Code, so we'll be talking about that as well. Keep listening to find out more, or visit rentofmen.com/meetup to buy tickets, which we're selling to offset the cost of the venue rental. Quick word of warning, the following conversation contains plenty of adult language and frank discussions of hot-button political issues, plus a lot of James's unique brand of satire, so this might not be one to share with the kids, and try not to take it all so seriously. And please welcome this week's guest on the Renaissance of Men podcast, from the UK, via YouTube, flippers and all, Cool Hand James. Hey, James, thanks for joining me on the podcast.
Hey, how are you doing? No problem.
I gotta say, I've really been looking forward to this because YouTube has changed a lot over the past few years, and there are just a small number of channels that I really, really enjoy, and yours is absolutely one of them. So I think I started following you when you maybe had like under 1,000 subscribers, and I've watched the whole saga of Cool Hand James has grown and become the #1 cyberbully of Joe Biden and all of that, and his triumphant return. Triumphant return. So I've been looking forward to this.
I am. YouTube has named me the #1 cyberbully. No one else has ever been thrown off the platform for cyberbullying Joe Biden, the president of America.
Before we get into that, I'm just kind of curious. I know that you're anonymous because you live in Britain and it's important that you protect your identity. But I wonder if you could just say like whatever you're comfortable saying about yourself. I have the story that maybe like you're a stand-up comedian, or maybe you're like a bricklayer or something like that with a good sense of humor. I don't know, but I don't know if there's anything you're willing to say about yourself other than cyberbully, Joe Biden fan and all of that.
No, not really. Well, I used to run pubs. So like pre-lockdowns, I used to run pubs and whatnot. So, and then I started making videos because I got really bored during lockdown because they took my businesses off me.
Oh man,
I had nothing to do. So I just started making videos because I found it. Well, I was bored and it seemed to be quite fun. And I liked the response to them. And then it started growing a bit. And then, well, I just thought I'd carry it on, to be honest. But there's not much about me. That was my background. I spent my entire life in the pub trade until, obviously, the coup.
You have this delivery and your voice and everything that just comes across as like, oh, clearly this guy's been doing it forever. But also I had this sense that maybe it was just something you started kicking around and started having fun with. So I guess that's interesting that I guess I picked up on that somehow.
Yeah, well, the whole running pubs and stuff, you have to be very loud,
Oh,
like,
okay.
and to explain to drunk people to stop doing things, and most of the time it is just laughing around and joking. So I think that translated well into making videos.
You just sat down with laptop and some editing software and just went after it.
Yeah, because I've always thought I wanted to make a video, like a YouTube video, but I've never actually. I spent years thinking about doing it, but obviously I was busy, and then we all had that moment in life where it was like, well, I have absolutely nothing to do, and I'm not allowed to leave the house. Like, so I'm going to do it now.
You've never done stand-up comedy or anything like that?
No, nothing like that.
Yeah, I think you have a gift for comedic delivery.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I could do it live, to be honest. I mean, well, it might. It's never really appealed to me. I just like making the videos. The videos are fun to me. Like putting them together, and then like while you're like making them, like there's 2 stages. You make the script, and then you record it, and then you make the video part of it. And it's finding the memes that fit the jokes that I like the most.
Do you have to stop yourself because you're laughing?
Yes, sometimes.
Yeah.
Which is quite arrogant, but they do. I do make myself laugh every now and again.
You're so deadpan about the whole thing in your own way, right?
And we're all like that over in England. Like, that's true. Sarcasm is the main course of comedy around here.
Yeah, that's true. But you just take down. You have this perspective. I know that most of your commentary is about American politics, and you have this. You're
the funniest people. We're really boring.
I don't know. I could maybe disagree with you on that, but why do you think we're I might agree that maybe we're the funniest people, actually. But why do you think
you're also flamboyant and like just so loud and brash? And it's like over here, like our politicians don't do shit. They just sit there going, yes.
Is that not funny?
No, it's so boring. And they just sit there going, "No, maybe we should do this." And you're like, "Yes, I agree." And like, there's no like the opposition party is called the opposition, but they don't really oppose the party in charge. They sort of just go, I agree. And you're like, but I would maybe do it slightly differently like this. And you're like, well, this is boring. This is why nothing gets done in this country. Whereas you lot over here is like, no, you're racist and you should all be killed. And they're like, well, no, you're all gay and you should be killed. Like it creates an amazing, like, for an outsider looking in, it's insane. Like, why did they behaving like this? Like, but it's great for me to watch and comment on.
It's better than sports.
Yeah, it's a lot better than sports.
Well, we have Trump, and there's a way in which he just elevates the whole.
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't remember it being quite like this until he turned up.
Yes,
but he just started walking around calling all the women fat, and then it just spiraled from there.
It just makes.
And then
go ahead.
And when he said lock her up for Hillary Clinton, that really bit him in the ass now, because now they want to lock him up,
but not because of that.
No, I think it does stem from that. Like, finally,
we'll show you, right?
Yeah, I think it does, because there were people outside the courthouse like chanting lock him up," weren't they? It's sort of like, oh look, we've epically pwned you, Trump.
We'll show you.
Yeah, we've waited 10 years for this, and you're like, oh good God. And that's another thing that fascinates me. Like Americans, like you treat politics like a religion, and it's like here. We hate all the politicians. It's like you can be a left-wing person and a right-wing person here, but the universal thing is we hate all the politicians. We know they're terrible people and they're all lying to us. Every single person in this country knows 100% of the time when a politician speaks, they're lying. Doesn't matter. No one supports anybody. And it's like, but over there, you're like, oh, AOC, she doesn't even know how money works, but she's my queen. And it's like, and then you've got like, it is genuinely a religion over in America.
I think you're right. I think you're right. I think that people do displace their religious longings onto the savior of their particular political party.
And they're just people. And they're also, a lot of the time, really stupid. Like quite obviously stupid. But they're like, oh no, he says the things that I like. And it's like, so I reckon he's God. And you're like, well, I don't know about that, buddy. It's like,
there are memes going around that compare Trump and Jesus. There has been a lot of that.
Oh yeah. The level of support he has is just like weird. It's so like, do you remember Parler?
Oh yeah,
social
yeah.
media.
Yeah.
When you went on there, and it was basically just worshipping Trump, like literally worshipping him. And it's like, this is odd. I mean, I like Trump as much as I bet next guy, but he's not Jesus or he's not anything like this.
Yeah. The
He's
savior
just a guy.
we do actually get very easily, we get into the savior mentality of with our politicians on either side.
Yeah, I know, it's really odd.
But you guys
That's why I like looking at it.
But you have the royals though. Like, what's going on with that? Like, we look.
Well, that's the thing. We have that. So, like, the people who are like really into something and need something to cling on to, they're all into the royals. Like, that's lessening to like this, like maybe 50-50 split. Mike, I don't really give a shit about the royals. It's like, I mean, they're kind of cool tourism wise, and I kind of like the events they put on because the whole world watches and is like, ooh, and it's like. We do know how to put on a good show, but they take away the zealots, like from politics, because all those people either put all their efforts into hating the royal family or loving the royal family, and then with the politicians, it's like, no, they're all liars. The rest of us, everybody just knows that as a fact.
Oh, interesting. So everyone knows that all the politicians are liars. But they project their savior longing onto the royals.
Some people, because because that would be like, because in reality we are still classed as their subjects, so they can legit worship them, and it's still and it's sort of and it's real because they are like we are subjects of the Queen or the King. That's still weird that we've got a king now. No one likes him though. No, that's the thing. You can see all the royalists are sort of like going, well, I have to go along with King Charles, but like no one actually likes him.
Who would they prefer? Because the royals thing,
Queen. They'd rather she wasn't dead. Like,
well, she's dead.
Yeah, I know, but like nobody likes her son because he's a weirdo.
Oh, that's true. Who comes after him? Is it going to be William? Okay,
yeah.
So they all count.
He's kind of cool. He got a hot chick to be his wife, so we kind of respect him.
See, this is the thing. We have all this drama with all this right wing versus left wing, like political parties, and celebrity drama is like a thing. But like what's going on with the royals, the scale of celebrity drama in the UK, I don't know that we can really understand it over here. I mean, we have like Will Smith.
You do have like there's a lot of people in America who love the royal family.
I know,
like they really like her. Now you like them. Like they really like Princess Diana as well, even though she's been dead for nearly 20 years,
a long time,
25 years.
It's like a whole. They're still doing like TV movies and stuff about her.
Yeah, like people abroad really like the royal family. That's why I said it's good for tourism, because like if you go to London and you go to Buckingham Palace or you go to any of the royal hotspots, it's just all Japanese people in the summer. 100% Japanese people. They're obsessed, and Chinese people, but like they're obsessed. You can't move because they're just all stood there taking photographs of Buckingham Palace for miles around.
Man, like I've been to the UK, I've been to London, I've been to Buckingham Palace. I was there. It was my first day traveling overseas. This was in 2004, and I had gotten an overnight flight. And first thing in the morning, I dropped my bags off at a hostel, and I just went wandering around, and somehow I found my way to Buckingham Palace in that long boulevard that I guess goes down to, I don't know what goes, Parliament or something like that, way down at the other end.
Yeah.
And there was a huge parade, with the horses and chariots and everything. I was like, what is going on? Apparently there was something for like the UN, some country. It was like their day of being inaugurated into the United Nations or the EU or something like that. So my very first day traveling overseas, I actually did get to see the Queen inside one of her limousines, which was pretty cool.
It is cool. Like when you see all that pageantry, it's kind of cool. It does sort of make you half proud to be English, because you're like, that's pretty cool. Nobody else does that.
No, we don't. We have our politicians drive around in armored cars with bodyguards with fake arms and guns hiding underneath their overcoats.
Yeah, I know, it's weird. And Joe Biden drives around in 20 car motorcades and then to go speak for 5 minutes about climate change.
So as you're watching this overseas, so 2020 happens, and your businesses get taken from you or get shut down during the coup, and you're sitting down to work on maybe your first video, and as you're kind of narrating it's been 3 years at this point. 2023, the lockdowns happened in 2020. Like, what have you seen outside watching America during your like content creation journey, what have you seen been happening to us? Like, what's the outside perspective from across the pond?
Well, I don't know what's going on in the real world, like in America, because because what I see at the moment online when I'm looking at American politics from an online perspective is the grifting is completely out of control. It's all grifting. It's like everybody has figured out that like if you can make people be outraged, you're gonna get money. And now everything's just turned super stupid because like you can look at all this like, and it's a sort of similar online in similar ways in England where they try and outrage you about immigrants and stuff like that, and it's like, but then you go walk around in the real world, nobody gives a shit about any of this.
Oh,
And
okay.
it's like in the real world is totally different, where like no one cares, no one talks to you about politics or anything. Sometimes it's like well, they don't in my life anyway. But then you look online and it's like everybody is just trying to outrage everybody and bait each other. That's what I'm seeing mostly.
So you're watching. I mean, I know that you've covered like Tim Pool and Jack Murphy.
Yeah, I fucking hate those guys.
Say more about that.
I hate Tim Pool. I just hate him.
Why do you hate Tim Pool?
Because he is the worst of all the grifters. He is a midwit. He's retarded, basically. He doesn't know anything about anything he talks about. Yet he talks like, oh, I talk quickly, so I'm smart. He's like constantly talking about, like constant talk about civil war. And if you make a video about Tim Pool, you will get a picture of how stupid his fan base is. And they'll be like, Tim is bringing light to all these subjects. And it's like, no, buddy, he's making you cry, so you give him super chats. It's like, what do you think he's gonna do about it? And it's like, well, he's fighting the culture one. It's like, what is he doing? And they're like, well, he's bringing awareness. Like, okay, cool. What is he doing? And it's like, how is he solving it? Well, he's bringing awareness to it. And you're like, okay, cool. I am doing that as well. So why aren't you praising me? And it's like, well, he's serious. He's like, is he? And it's like, it's all designed to give you money. And it's like, give him money. And it's like, that's all it is. And it's like, Tim Pool doesn't care about civil war. Tim Pool doesn't care about any of this. Tim Pool lies about being swatted 1,000,000 times. He's like, oh, I got swatted again. It's like, okay, right. It's like, and I happen to, like, I know enough about America. It's like, if you get swatted once, you ring the police department up and you say, don't do that again. That will be somebody trolling me on, I'm a streamer. And you give them their details. I know all the people on Twitch have done that because there was a spell where they actually had to do that because they were getting swatted. So they explained to all their viewers what they were doing. I know people like Moist Critical and stuff. They've all done it. They've rang their local police department. Yet Tim Pool, coincidentally, he lives in the middle of absolute nowhere. He's been swatted about 70 times. And I'm not even exaggerating. He has been swatted that amount of time. And you're like, okay, buddy. It's like, at what point am I going to stop believing you?
See, this is getting into a little bit of like my guilty pleasure. So I spend a lot of time listening to different religious and theological and social and philosophical content on YouTube. But from time to time, I tune into channels like The Quartering and like yours to kind of get a little view into some, just when I need to switch my brain off. So I know a little bit about this. I followed some of the Eliza Blue story, for example, and what an absolute disaster that was. And based on what I do, like I kind of know what happened with the whole Jack Murphy thing. In fact, he and I had an interaction a while ago.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I was in his liminal order group in summer of 2020. Just for about 3 months, and I actually got kicked out. I got kicked out
for questioning him.
Actually, yeah, because it was a group full of mostly left or center kind of leaning dudes, and I was kind of the dude pointing out to them like, "Hi, by the way, Bill Clinton has flown to Epstein Island about 20 or so times. You guys know about that?" And they didn't like that, so they took the first opportunity to kick me out. So I followed that whole situation with a lot of glee, watching that whole heartfelt burn down kind of situation.
What a dumb guy. He'd still be around if he hadn't have done that. If he'd just gone, ha, 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 and just, funny, yeah, that was a bad time. And like, I'm no longer a cook anymore. Next question. That's all he had to do, rather than go nuts at a woman.
Yes. Well, and then, but all that information all those videos, all that stuff was floating out there about him. Like that was just
I know.
in the clear with the dude's same face and beard. Like that's the thing that doesn't make any sense. Like, why would you do all that and then think you can go be some sort of influencer about masculinity in particular using the same beard? Like, do you think that's not just going to show up randomly on someday?
No, they don't think that. They're really, these people are really stupid. Like really, like remarkably stupid. It's like it doesn't occur to them.
It never pops into their mind.
No, because they think, oh, well, I used a different username there. It's like they'll never find it. And you're like, well, okay, good for you. Like, we'll see about that.
Have you? Go ahead.
And nobody would have found out anyway if they hadn't pissed everybody off. Nobody would, and maybe they would have done, but nobody would have given a shit. That's the thing with the internet. You've got to do something that makes everybody really, really like, right, we're going to get him. And it's like you really have to do that to the internet because otherwise you can do whatever you want and nobody gives a shit.
True.
You really it was him saying that to Sydney Watson, and he was like, "Oh right, what an arsehole. What an absolute arsehole. Let's destroy him." Because that's how the internet works. There's got to be a trigger point caused by you. It's the same with Eliza Blue. She got away with it for ages. Then she acted like an absolute idiot, like on Tim Pool's show and on Twitter, like mocking everybody. It's like, okay, now we're going to show the entire world that you're a whore. Like, unlucky. And now she's been banished from the internet.
Where did she go? She
left.
I don't have a problem with that.
She said she was going to go marry the love of her life, but that was just a cope. She was like, well, I can't grift anymore. It's gone. Like,
I'm glad that you explained what the word grifter means because I hear that word a lot and I think I know what it means, but to me it kind of means people who are profiting off of an organic movement. But I think you use
stealing money.
We'll say more about stealing money because, like, I guess from your perspective, from the things that you do, like, what does it actually look like when you say grifter? What do you mean by that?
I mean, he's stealing money off idiots, like people like Andrew Tate, people like Tim Pool. They are deliberately gaining trust and worship from the stupidest people imaginable. Like people, like because I have a YouTube channel that isn't that big, but I get a lot of comments. I get a lot of interaction on the videos. And I have to explain to some people that I'm a comedy channel because they're like, well, I don't trust you anymore. It's like, you are a source of news for me. And you're like, buddy, like, do you have autism? And they're like, yes, I do have autism. And it's like, oh, right. And like, what these people are doing, and I know this, it's the theory, and I don't know it to be fact, but I think they've figured out a way of targeting autistic people, because autistic people don't understand humor. Mm-hmm. And it's like they cannot correlate or like humor and people being serious. So when they see my videos, they take it deadly serious because I'm being sarcastic and I'm actually saying it straight. And it's like, and anybody else gets it, but like a lot of people do not. They think I'm being factually correct about a lot of stuff that I say. And Andrew Tate especially is doing this, and Tim Pool is doing it. He's targeting the dumbest, most terminally online people who think like, oh, we're in the middle of a cold civil war. And you're like, you're not, buddy. You're just watching Tim Pool, and he's just fucking screaming at you into a webcam that you're in a civil war. This is the guy who said Trump was going to win every single state. And by the way, he genuinely said that for a long time. Yeah. And they figured out a way of targeting these people by just focusing on the outrage and never letting up. And then, like, if you look at some of the super chats on the Tim Pool show, and it's just people donating because they think it's a cause. It's like they think they're giving to a cause, that he's like fighting for a cause. And it's like he's an idiot in his studio just saying civil war, civil war, civil war, woke, woke, woke. Just on repeat. It's the same stuff every single time. But he's got them in a loop of outrage.
Got it.
That's grifting.
Got it. Okay, I can see that. I can see that now. Yes, because I see that dynamic in so many different ways. Like in many ways, it's the whole online hustle. It's like
it's all of it.
Okay, yeah, you poke some people, you get them all riled up, and then they send you money.
But it didn't used to be quite like this. Now it's like it's gone into absolute overdrive.
Yeah,
like from all sides. It's like you've got like this the trans outrage. It's like this Matt Walsh. It's like constantly. Like I saw a tweet where he's like today, where he's like, well, I was doing a talk and I saw this trans person. They asked me a question. And I called them a man. I said they look like a man. And you're like, I'm going to be truthful all the time. And you're like that's just playing to your audience. But again, why? what was the point in doing that? Apart from playing to your audience who just hates trans people. And you're like, okay, I don't understand what this cause is. And it's like it's just all screaming at things, like highlight something somebody doesn't like or is scared of, and then just hammer it home over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And never let up, because otherwise the donations will stop.
Got it. Yeah, I think you see something really clearly. Actually, I get it now. Because I hear that term a lot, but I've never quite known what it meant.
A lot of people don't know what it means.
Yeah,
they use it completely wrong.
How do most people use it?
I don't know, because I get called a grifter. Like I get called, like people like, well, there's loads of comments on my Tim Pool video. There's at least 30 or 40 comments on my calling me a grifter. And I was like, buddy, my channel's not monetized. I don't make any money doing this. It's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, no, you are grifting. And you're like, you understand there's got to be an element of money with grifting. It's like, no, you're a grifter. And you're like, okay, whatever. And like you think that. But like a lot of people just call, like, say, like, especially people like Tim Pool, John Peterson's fans, if you start saying things bad about them, like, oh, he's just grifting off his name. And you're like, I'm not making any money doing this. I'm just saying I don't like him. And you're like, I think it's just being used as an insult at that point. All these people are really dumb. I don't know. Probably the latter.
It's probably both. No, I mean, I think this is really helpful for me, because when you spend enough time online, that's kind of a phenomenon that you start to see. Like, I'm a content creator, right? Like, I've got, my podcast, and I've got, all the different things that I do. And I've been struggling with, well, how do I do what I do without getting accusations of grifting? Well, first I have to understand what grifting is. And so to me, grifting is like profiting off of an organic movement. Like, a whole bunch of people are doing something organic, and then you kind of come in at the end and just start siphoning off money. That's what grifting has meant to me. But I think
that's correct as well. I mean, it's being disingenuous about it as well, which is what all these people are doing. They're not real. They're not serious. Tim Pool doesn't think you're in a civil war.
Right.
Because he's a millionaire, so he's not retarded. So like he knows that you're not in a civil war.
That's true. So this is helpful for me, because now that you point this out, I feel like if I were to think about it, basically everything is grifting now. Basically everything is grifting, because we can't tell you can go outside and see, but you can't tell what's real and what isn't, because everything is so mediated these days. And if you can create this kind of reality where everything is all trumped up and all angry all the time, then you can profit wildly from engagement and clicks and super chats and stuff like that.
That's what I mean. Yeah, it's the outrage circle. There's a lot of stupid people who really want to be angry.
Yes,
they really do want to be angry. It's like they won't stop. And it's like it's like you go on Twitter, you make videos on YouTube, and there's just people absolutely seething all the time. And you're like, okay, buddy. It's like, why can't you just chill? Like, what does it even matter? And they're like, rah, 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 rah. And you're like, okay. It's like, I'm joking, by the way. And I don't know whether you are. And they just start giving a tirades of like, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad. And it's like, okay, you need to move away from the internet for a day. Just walk around in the real world.
Now, do you get people who are this anxious to be angry? Do you get that in the UK?
I don't know if half of these people are from the UK. I know the thing is with the UK is like it's hard to see whether like people are actually angry, because we're kind of deadpan over here.
Yeah, and
like sarcasm is the main thing. And like people don't really show. That's why I find interesting about Americans. It's like the emotion that the emotion is just worn on the sleeve constantly. It's like here you don't do that at all. Not even women do that. It's like everyone's very, very sort of like keeps themselves to themselves. So you don't really know. Even online, the way they comment is like very different as well.
I was watching one of your videos about, I think it was about the UK, the UK Prime Minister, the one who was like in for what, 44 days or something like
Oh
that.
yeah.
Did you get angry comments about that?
No, everyone just thought that was funny. Everyone thought, the whole country thought I was hilarious because like this is a woman. It's like woman immediately fucks it up straight away. You know? Oh well, she tried to understand money. Typical woman. Like, she set back women like 100 years here. Like now we just like, well, we tried putting one of you in charge, and then you nearly fucked the entire economy because you didn't understand how money worked.
See, that's and people didn't get all outraged about that. They're like, oh, that is pretty funny.
No one gave a shit about that. That was funny. Like, that was genuinely funny. No one supports. That's the thing. No one supports our politicians. We're just looking for their downfall. And when something happens to them, it's like, yes, nice one. Like, no, there's no supporters of these people.
How do they get elected? There's no one like here.
Because people know we have to put somebody in charge. So we do vote for them, but our turnouts are very low, like 50%. And it's like, we do know we have to have a government so we can get shit done. But nobody actually, we just support, it's like, at least he's not there, that person. And it's like, that's how people get elected, not because they think, oh yeah, he's great. And it's like, it's because at least he isn't the other guy. And it's like, that's how people end up in power, because it's the best of a bad world.
Okay, so that makes a lot of sense why you'd be looking at America and you look at our religious sports-like association with politics. And
that's why it's so weird.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, I mean, I get it now.
Yeah, because it's so alien to this country. I don't know what it is to any other place, but I know France hates Macron, and they don't. They've never really liked him. He's just the best of the bad bunch. It's like, I don't know. I don't know what it's like in the other European countries, but it's always been this way in this country.
People just not being. Go ahead.
Well, we had Margaret Thatcher in charge for the best part of 10 years. I think it was 12 years. And then, like, everyone hated her. The whole country hated her. But she still managed to get into power every single time.
Actually, I know this was a little bit before my time, but I know the name. I know that she was during the Reagan era, like the 80s and some of the 90s, I guess. Like,
yeah, she was probably the most influential politician of the world in the 80s.
Okay.
Like, in a lot of stuff. So, I mean, she gave Hong Kong back to China.
Oh,
and that's why China's the biggest ally in well, not anymore, but that's why China's sort of gone along with us and has been nice to the entire Western civilization for all this time. Because in about 1995 or something, she gave Hong Kong back. We didn't have to. She just said, "Oh, you have them back. You have it back." And they gave it 100-year lease before they turned it back into China, but which they've reneging on now. They're about to turn it into China. But that's why they're buddies with us.
Is that why?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's not the sort of thing you see circulating online very often about here's Hong Kong. I've been to Hong Kong and I really enjoyed it there. And I know that there were some really big protests. It was last year.
It's still ongoing, yeah.
Is it still happening?
Yeah, because China is taking it.
Yeah.
And then, like, the protests are getting smaller and smaller as they kill them. And, like, it's the Chinese way. They're taking it no matter what. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, they can protest all they want. China is China.
Yes, China gonna China.
Yeah.
See, this is the thing. We're so obsessed in America with our own political game of football that we really have no idea what's going on in the rest of the world unless someone significant dies. Like Queen dies, we hear about that. But short of that, there's not a lot of room for the rest of the world in any of our media.
No, it's a very insular country, which is hardly surprising considering it's the size of a continent. Like, and hardly any of you got passports or anything like that. But we all go to on vacation to different parts of the United Kingdom, United States. I mean, we'd never do that. Like, we all go to Spain or somewhere like that.
But you actually have. But in the UK, you don't actually have a place within your country that gets sunshine like Spain does. Versus if you live in, for example, like
that's true.
Montana or Wisconsin that gets heavy snow. Like you can go to Florida, and you don't actually need a passport to visit another.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not saying it's wrong because it is like America's a continent. It's not really a country. It's like it's enormous. It's too big to be really called a country. It's enormous, bigger than Europe.
It is. It is actually. It takes 6 or 7 hours to fly across the country. Like if you were going from Los Angeles to New York, and that's not even the whole way. Like you could go from Los Angeles to Maine, and you're getting all the way there.
Yeah, it's absolutely an enormous piece of land. So I don't blame them for being insular because, like, well, I mean, why would you? You've got every single type of weather possible, all the type of climates that you could possibly want are already in America, and they all speak English. So what's the point in going over to Spain and having to shout English louder so they understand you?
These are the things that Americans can't understand about Europe, though, right? Like we don't understand like what's going on like between.
That it's not a country.
Yeah, well, yes, Africa is also not a country, but what's going on between those Greeks and the Germans, the Italians and the French? Like, what's wrong with all those people?
And we don't care about them. I literally know nothing that happens in any of those countries because it's never on the news. The same with their countries. We don't give a shit about them. We actively. I mean, we do know kind of what happens in France because we hate the French, and it's like because that's the English you were brought up to despise the French,
of course,
and they are brought up to despise us. And we're always having arguments about dumb shit with them. But apart from that, totally separate countries. It's just that's another thing that's online with Twitter when they start talking about Europeans, and you're like, well, I don't know. It's like you can't really class us all as that. And they're like, well, yeah, it is kind of like a country, and it's like, well, no, it's not. They're just connected. It's not the fucking same thing. Like
they have nothing to do. They have nothing to do with each other.
They have absolutely nothing to do with each other. I mean, if you go to Spain or Italy, and it's like, oh yeah, this is totally different. It's like I see why it's not connected at all. But yeah.
Who else is fun to hate in Europe? Because I have my perspectives, you know.
Germans.
No hesitation.
No. Just never trust them. They're always up to something.
They're always, what are they up to right now?
Trying to annex Europe through the EU.
Is that
which has failed.
Say more. This is the kind of news that doesn't make it over to America because we're so busy about Trump getting arrested, like or whatever is on the news cycle for the day. We don't hear about Germany trying to take over the UN.
But they've been trying to do. This is why we left Brexit, and now they've all been seething for same amount of time since Trump got elected because that was our Trump. Right, like we voted to leave the EU, and they were like, "You can't do that." It's like, "Watch us, motherfuckers! We're doing it," and we've left. And they're like, "Oh well, you're gonna collapse." And like, not before you. And now the EU is like really on its last knees, and we thwarted the Germans again because they thought they were real sneaky, like going, "No, well, we couldn't take over Europe by building camps and like taking out and like shooting everybody." Well, let's build some cars first, then they'll trust us. Then we'll build good cars, and then we'll bring up this thing called the European Union. And it's like, but we're going to be in charge of it for some reason, I don't know. And then we're gonna. They did it with Italy, and Italy they basically annexed Italy because they lent them so much money through the EU to avoid being bankrupt. Germany took a controlling interest in Italy, a country. They were like, well, we own part of you now. And it's like, and they did the same with Greece, and they were like slowly annexing Europe. And then we left Europe, and it's like, oh shit, we're basically we're slowly collapsing the EU by leaving because we also put a lot of money into that thing.
Wow. Okay. So Brexit was another thing that happened that I don't know that Americans understand very well. Like obviously it happened right along, but everyone was so focused on Trump. And so I guess there was a whole period of time where I knew that the UK voted for Brexit and then they voted again and both times passed.
No, we didn't vote again. No.
Wasn't there a second referendum? No. Okay.
No, never was. We had a referendum, which we won. And then the left in this country said, "Oh, we need a people's vote," and you're like, "Well, we've already had that, buddy. You lost."
It's called the vote.
And they're like, "Yeah," and they're like, "No, but that wasn't voting done properly. We need to have another vote just to be extra sure whether we're leaving the EU." And it's like, "Well, no, we're not doing that." And it's like because we won. Now, fuck you. And then so they spent 7 or 8 years screeching about oh, well, we need the people's vote. And it's like, we've already had it. And then we managed to keep them screeching for a few years. And then we left the EU. And it's like, well, we don't have to have that vote anymore, do we? We've already left now. Sorry about that. And it's like, but no, we never had the second referendum. They just kept on, like, the politicians tried to say, oh, we're going to have a second referendum. And they kept on losing because, what was it? Corbyn said, I think, we're going to have a second referendum to see whether whether we really want to leave the EU. And he lost to the most idiotic woman possible, Theresa May, in a general election because he said that. Because it's like, because everybody wants to leave the EU. Because it's like, even if it screws us over, fuck it doesn't matter. It's like, we're already screwed. Let's see how this works out. That's how I think everybody is like looking at it now.
That's kind of how I saw it. I'm surprised. I was surprised to find out that you guys did actually successfly leave, more or less.
Yeah, they did not expect that.
Yes. Yeah, like no one expected Trump either, right? It was this kind of
they did not expect to lose that. It was like the level of shock on the television and all the reporting and the politicians, they were like, what? How could we lose? Like they gave us the referendum because they thought, yeah, well, no one's gonna say we need to leave the EU, and then we ended up leaving it. And it's going, no, we are leaving. And then they tried to scare us into having a second referendum for years by saying, oh, well, you won't be able to go on holiday in Spain. And then Spain had come out and go, actually, yeah, you will. We need those guys' money. And it's like, what are you talking about? It's like, you can go anywhere you want. And then it turns out that, oh, we're not going to be trapped on this little island. It's like everybody else needs our money because we're the fourth richest country in the world. And it's like, and we're the tiniest little island. We're the size of New York. Basically,
wow.
I think we're not we're close to the size of New York. The count is it state? Is it county or
the
state?
State. Yeah. Let me.
New York is an actual state, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. New York. See, that's the thing is over here. I was under the impression that let me pull this up. No, you're actually. Yeah, maybe. No, you're a little bit bigger than the state of New York as I'm looking at Google Maps. So like. Entire UK and Ireland you're about the size of the north.
Don't count Ireland.
Don't count.
They don't like that.
Sorry, Irish people.
Just the top. That's the bit that we stole off them.
Just the top bit. Okay, so yeah, all total, it's maybe a bit like the size of from Maine down to Pennsylvania, right? So maybe about roughly that size.
So barely anything. But this tiny little country contributes quite a lot to the world. So
yeah,
all the doom and gloom merchants going, oh, we're going to collapse. No one's going to want to do businesses. And it's like, we're like, I don't care whether people hate us, but everybody talks our language for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
And it's like everybody wants to do business with us because we've got loads of money.
You do.
I mean, it's getting more and more worthless by the day, but like we've got money.
Yeah, and so now as a result, the EU is kind of like having all these political intrigue where it's kind of collapsing with Germany trying to take over and take the place of the UK. Like this is all completely like I don't follow any of this stuff. So
this is my theory, yes. But I don't. I'm English, so of course I don't trust Germans, and I just find it a little bit suspicious that Germany just sort of gave up and like well we don't want to rule the world anymore. And you're like no, don't you? Okay. And it's like, and then they started like, they tried to take over the world with their cars, which they really have done in this country. It's like everybody buys German cars now. And it's like, and then they literally did annex these countries, but they didn't say it on the news that they annexed these countries, but they did because they owed them money and they were like, it's like they took control the interests of these countries.
Wow.
I mean, they don't now because Italy elected that chick who's quite hot, the nationalist chick.
Yeah, I can't remember her name either.
No, but she's kind of scary when she talks, like in a good way.
So do you want to talk about Ukraine a little bit? I'm sure that's definitely a favorite topic based on some of the things that you cover on your channel.
Yeah, do you believe anything that's happening there?
No.
Do you think even a war is even happening?
Maybe.
I'm not even sure anymore.
Right.
Yeah, it's just all of it is so fake. Oh, you need to give me more money. I'm giving enough, and you're losing heavily.
If they're even,
I mean, if I am to be believing any of it, then they are getting their ass kicked.
they should be.
Well, they are, because I know how winners talk, and it is not like Zelensky.
That's true.
Like, he talks like a bitch. He's like, "Oh, we need this to help," and you're like, "Well, if you're winning, you wouldn't talk like that. He'd be like, oh, yeah, this is a glorious victory. I don't need any of you's help. I am kicking ass." And it's like, but he's not talking like that at all. He's like, "Oh, the Ukrainians, we're such pussies. Can I have £100 million? Because I really want to have some more cocaine."
Billion.
Like,
billion. We're sending him $2 billion.
Billion.
Yeah, that was yesterday or something like that.
Yeah. And it's just like, what the? I don't know. I don't understand that. I mean, it just shows the level of stupidity. It's like with Afghanistan, nobody cared.
Right.
And it's like, why didn't you do it in the Middle East? Like, if you're going to have some dumb war, why didn't you do it? Like, I know you need forever wars, because then the fucking military machine can never be turned off. They will not stop making fucking weapons and trucks and stuff like that. They will not stop making these things. So you have to have wars to actually be able to use them. But in Ukraine, I don't understand why they chose that one, because Putin is obviously going to win.
I think he probably already has one, or at least he's not even trying, right?
Well, yeah, but he hasn't deployed half of the people he could.
Yeah.
They just slowly, and they're trying not. The thing about that is, like, because at the start of it, I was watching a lot of it, and then it's like, and I was like, there's a lot of like nothing you see on the television is correct. So
yeah,
but I was watching like videos of people like who were there, and they were saying they're not, like, none of the Russian troops are killing the civilians, because their whole point is to take over slowly, and because they consider the Ukrainians Russians, they don't want to kill any civilians. That's why everything is taking so long, because they won't. Because like Americans are sort of like, hey, why isn't this war taking 3 days? When we went into Iraq, we just bombed the fuck out of everyone and killed everyone, and then declared victory, and everybody was free. And you're like, well, that's not really how you win a war. That's how you kill everybody. And it's like, and then just go, oh yeah, you're free now. And it's like, there's nobody left to be free. They're all dead. like that's how America does stuff. They just carpet bomb everything. But here, it's like, it's much more slow, and like, if it is even real. I mean, I don't even know if it's real, because everything is so fake. That's the thing. It's like, is it real? I mean, it sounds dumb to say something like that, but I don't believe it. You have like that Malcolm, you got that, what was his name? You know, that CNN guy.
Which one?
Malcolm Nance.
Oh, okay.
The black guy who went to Stand By, who went to Ukraine, and he's like pretended to watch missiles, because his memeable moment was he was like reporting on CNN, and then he was like, he saw a missile go over, and he went, "Stand by" to the camera and looked above, and he was like, "Oh yeah, that's a C4 something or other blah 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 missile." And everyone was like, "What the fuck? How did you even possibly tell that, buddy?" And then he got exposed last week, I think it was, but like by the New York Times as well, saying that he was a pathetic LARPer, which he blocked me on Twitter for saying he was a LARPer, like about 6 months ago. But now his career's in ruin. But again, all of these people are faking it.
Yes. Like Brian Williams, for the famous NBC News anchor who took over for Tom Brokaw. Like he lost his career too.
The helicopter guy.
Yes.
Is that in Iraq? Was it?
Yes, I think the helicopter. Yes, I think he said he was. Yeah. He was like.
That's it. Yeah.
Exactly.
He was in it, and then it was stolen valor or something, wasn't it, or whatever they said.
Yeah, all these guys, they're all trying to make themselves sound like they're some sort of soldier or something. They're the Dan Rather or whatever, like ducking when the gunfire comes or whatever.
It's all fake, all of it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just can't tell with Ukraine, and I've completely lost interest in it recently, because it's just. I mean, it was funny. The first part of it was funny when Redditors started going over there and getting themselves killed. That was the funniest thing I've ever seen. And it's like, and they like report on Reddit and like, oh, well, you shouldn't probably go because everybody who I've gone with is dead. And you're like, well, really? I mean, I don't know whether that was real or not, but I'm choosing to believe that was real.
I think that was real.
Redditors, yeah.
Oh, for sure. For sure, I think that was real.
Good. And then you have Coach Red Pill. Who pretended? Do you remember him?
I've heard the name. I don't know that I know what he's been doing.
He lives in Ukraine, and then he pretended to get kidnapped by Ukrainians, and
oh no.
And then he went missing for a month, and then he turned up and he's like, "Oh, I'm fine actually. They released me." You're like, well, like, I don't think they would have done. If they arrested you for propaganda or something, what he said, and it's like because he was in the Ukraine, walking around doing live streams, shit talking Ukraine, saying how cool Putin was, and they were like, and then he got allegedly arrested, and like by the Secret Service or something, and then they released him a month later, and you're like. I don't think in this time of war they would have done that. To be honest, buddy, I think they would have killed you.
Oh my god! Well, I remember. I do remember when there was the whole thing on Reddit, like you need to go over to Ukraine and fight for whatever cause, and the guys were like showing up over there thinking that they were going to be soldiers or were just kind of and the whole barracks was bombed or something like that.
Yeah. When they doxed them, because they built that was Reddit. They filmed that somebody. What was it? Yeah. They was in the barracks and they were all singing a song. So the Redditor filmed them and then posted it on Reddit, going, "Oh, look how cool these guys are! Look at the nationalism." And then 4chan. Well, I don't know what it was 4chan, but I think the Russians as well. The Russians like figured out where it was and they just fucking carpet bombed them. Just by the markings on the walls or something over there, I think.
Now, there's nothing funny about the loss of life, but
there is. They're Redditors. It's only Redditors.
Exactly.
It's not really a life, is it? I mean, it's like
no, not in any technical. Not
a person.
definitely not in any technical sense, really.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I think your explanation of Ukraine is probably the best one I've heard, because that's been my question. Like I have this way that I think about the media. It's like if it's on TV, it's BS. COVID is on TV, therefore COVID is BS. Now use that same thing. Ukraine, whatever is on TV, it's all BS. So I just don't pay attention anymore. And I think times have proved me right. But I have found myself wondering, why is there still a war in Ukraine? Why are we still sending them money? What is going on there? And I guess it makes the most sense to me to say, well, Russia's not actually trying to carpet bomb and murder everybody because they just want to like annex the country. They don't actually want to massacre everybody, which they could do fairly easily.
Well, they consider Ukraine. And the thing is, it started... I mean, Russia's actually in the right as well, because they kept... I mean, anybody who's been paying any attention to this for the past few years are like, because I coincidentally had been, like, I don't know why, but I had been, because I remember for years Putin complaining about NATO bases being built in Ukraine, and he's been doing that for over 10 years, just saying, don't do that, just leave me alone, don't move, don't put that there, and they're like, oh, we won't, and then they build one, and they're like, oh, look, stop building them. And they're like, oh, but look, we're not building any of them. We're just building one right next to you. and then eventually it's like, right, fuck you guys. I'm taking Ukraine back. And it's like, that's been brewing for 10 years. And it's like, and then they were like, oh, well, he's done it unprovoked. And like, motherfucker, you've been provoking him for 10 years, at least from what I'm aware of. And it's like, you've just been like poking him, going, you're just building another NATO base near you, buddy. What's your problem? It's like, I've already said, don't do it. And it's like, well, we'll just build another 10. And it's like, that is, it's not unprovoked. And he's actually correct to be doing it, as far as I'm concerned.
See, this
I'm not on his side in particular. I don't care one way or the other, but with the actual facts, you'd be like, well, yeah, I can see why he's doing it.
Yes. This gets labeled in the United States as like conspiracy theory and all that stuff. Like how dare you say something other than like he's literally Hitler and the worst thing to ever happen.
Yeah, I know. Because it's on Twitter, isn't it? It's like you say that and it's like, oh, you're a Russian bot. And you're like, no, I'm not. You are behaving like a bot more than me, I think.
Yes. This is the insanity. See, this all this stuff is really important because all of us, we interact to varying degrees. Especially if you're on Twitter or if you're on YouTube, with people who create content or push worldviews or talk about these things, and it's like trying to figure out what is actually real about what's coming through my screen. Like we talked about grifters, right? These grifters, like they're not actually saying things that are true. They're saying things that maybe they know to some degree are false, or they're only partially true because they want money. Or you get people on Twitter who are pushing, worldviews or beliefs to get engagement, and maybe they don't think those things are true. But this is where we get so much information from. Like, how do we actually determine what's true and what's not? And even to the point where people engaging with your channel can't tell that it's sarcasm. And like everyone's kind of really lost in this right now.
I think like a lot of it is autism. I'm not really joking either. I'm being serious when I'm saying it, because like they do not understand humor. And I think a lot of online discourse is ruined by people with autism. And there's a lot of them.
It's probably true.
And it's like, and they're wrecking all of it. It's like they're not understanding what jokes are. It's like almost all trans people have autism and a million other mental illnesses, but like they almost all have autism, and you cannot take a joke.
Yes.
Which is the one thing if you're going to do something as outlandish as dress up as a woman and turn your penis inside out, you should probably take the joke, take a joke or two, because your life will be a lot better than that. But they're ruining themselves. But I think a lot of online discourse is generally ruined by people who, because there was a survey done, and over a third of people have no sense of humor.
What?
Yeah, and like the thing is with, and that was a medical survey, and they figured it out that over a third of people have no sense of humor, and over nearly a third of people have no inner monologue.
That I did know, but no sense of humor.
Yeah, like no sense of no comprehension of what funny might be.
Really?
And it's like, yes, and like, and it's, and you, I mean, when you know that and you look online, you're like, oh yeah, I believe that.
Actually,
because people do not understand things. They will not understand that you're joking. And like, well, I don't think you're joking. You're like, well, I am joking. No, I think what you said was that. Like the amount of people in the comments of my videos, they're like, well, I think this is what you meant. And you're like, buddy, I know what I meant. I made the video. I'm like, no, you're wrong. And you're like, I'm not wrong because I made the video. You're wrong. And they're like, no, you meant to say that. And I did not mean that. I was joking. And I actually don't think that at all. What the fuck are you talking about? I'm like, well, now you're just being disingenuous. You're like, no, I'm not. You're deciding what I meant to fit into your head, and then rejecting what I actually meant. And they're like, and there are plenty and lots of people say stuff like that and have done for hundreds of videos now. And it's like, okay. But I fully believe people don't have a sense of humor, and they don't have any inner monologue. The NPC meme is real.
I think you're right. Last year for April Fool's Day, I did an episode of my podcast where I had 3 friends come on and did voice impersonations. So it was me, it was Donald Trump, Jordan Peterson, and Alex Jones. And so it was a 4-way. It was a 4-way conversation. Now there was clearly voice actors, right? There's no way you're going to think like some of my friends did a really good job. Like my friend Jonathan, who does Alex Jones, and Spencer, who did Donald Trump in particular, did a really fantastic job. But I promoted that. I put effort into it. Like I made it into a real episode, and I put effort into the conversation, But people got really, and I did a podcast cover and put it up on Instagram and stuff. People got really upset. They got really mad. They're like, I thought that you really had them. I'm like, bro, like I've been doing a podcast.
Yeah, they get very, yeah. Again, they don't understand the joke.
Like I thought for sure that people would look and say, oh, that's hysterical that, who would ever get Donald Trump, Jordan Peterson, and Alex Jones in a room together? How would that would never happen. That would never.
It would be quite good if it did, though.
It would be amazing if it did, but like it wouldn't happen on my podcast, right?
Probably not, no. Probably wouldn't. It probably would happen. Yeah, it probably wouldn't even happen on Joe Rogan, would it?
That's the closest, right? How do you, yeah. So, but that people looked at that, and so many people really thought that I really had gotten them on the podcast. I was blown away by it. I thought it'd be the most obvious joke, but it really wasn't. And then people got.
There's no obvious jokes on the internet.
There's no obvious jokes on the internet.
There aren't. Not the amount of stupid people. This is the problem. Like, because I was going to follow on. Like, well, half of these people don't. Third of these people don't understand humor. Third of these people have no inner monologue. And in real life, you would never hang around with these people because they're retarded. So you'd never ever talk to them. You've got your own friends who are normal. But on the internet, you have to hang around with them because they're there. And it's like, so this is what is happening to all the online discourse and stuff like that. It's all being fucked up by these weirdos who don't understand anything. And then are just sort of blundering around going, well, I think this means this. And you're like, well, you're an idiot. But like, I can't really determine whether you're an idiot or trolling. So because because you can't on the internet. The typed word is like, I have an inkling of what they're doing, but like, I don't know for sure.
That's true, because it does, to pick up humor online, especially if you can't see someone's face, does require a lot of interpretation of someone's intent, and you understand that they're joking. Like, for example, like what you do. What you do is obviously very deadpan, and you talk about being Joe Biden's #1 fan, which we'll get into. But if you can't pick up on someone's intent to say something funny, obviously, like you're not a big fan. If you can't interpret that, then yeah, it's going to be very, very difficult to interpret any kind of humor online if you can't see that someone's joking to that degree.
Yeah, and they can't, because that's I'm on Twitter. I've got Ukraine flags, trans flags, and rainbow flags in my Twitter bio constantly, every day. It's like, oh, you've got opinion discarded. You've got these, and it's like, oh, do you think, judging by what I've just said, they might be a joke? And they're like, no, it's not a joke. And it's like, it is a joke. They just keep on telling me. And it's like, well, you're not joking. You do love the Ukraine. And you're like, oh, you sure got me, buddy. And they're like, they will not have it. And it's like that I might be not being serious.
I mean, your Twitter profile picture is a dolphin.
Yeah, I know. And I have George Floyd is life as a hashtag on there. Trans Day of Visibility, trans rights are humans' rights. And my tagline is #1 cyberbullier of Joe Biden, as proclaimed by YouTube. But constantly, they're just like, oh, you have a trans flag, and you're like you're a pedophile. And you're like, oh, all right, buddy. You sure got me. Damn. I was trying to hide the fact that I was pedophile, but you really, really seeked it out, you detective, you.
Your pronouns are fish self.
Yeah, no, it could have been more obviously taking the fucking Michael, but no. They will not have it. And the people with autism will not have it. I am deadly serious. I am a fish. And I fully support Ukraine being trans.
Well, well, that's why there's no video on this podcast, as obviously we'd be horrified to actually see a dolphin.
A trans dolphin.
A trans dolphin. People aren't ready for that.
No, they're not.
A trans dolphin who ran pubs in the UK. People just aren't ready for the truth of what's really going on over there.
No, you're not. It's changed a lot since lockdowns.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so how did you become? Let's go through the number of bannings that you've had on YouTube, because I think you've been banned twice, 3 times, something like that.
3 times now.
3 times, and you've come back triumphant every time, and it's only made you stronger.
Well, yeah, it's actually. Yes. I'm now monetized again.
Yeah, actually, I want to hear about that. I want to hear about that too. So, what did you get banned for the first time?
First time. Hold on. Let me just. Which one did I get banned for? What did I get banned for the first time? Oh yeah. I got banned the first time for making a video that had gone. There was a video that had gone viral. A YouTuber. She only had 112 subscribers. Right. But it had gone viral because she was a psychologist. She was obviously fat and had a shaved head. She was a typical,
psychologist
leftist person. Yeah. And she made a video saying how pedophiles were pretty cool, actually, and we should stop saying they were victims. So I made a response video to her video, played her video in it, and then stopped it and said, no, I think you're wrong. Pedophiles aren't really that cool. And then she kept on saying how much they were victims. I don't think they're victims. And that was the basic flow of the video, saying, I'm pretty sure that you are wrong there. And then I got banned for bullying.
Uh-huh.
I bullied her, and because I don't know. because they were like, you were bullied another YouTuber. And it's like, it was some said the way it was phrased in the banning. It's like I was bullying another person on YouTube. And I know that's against the rules. But in my appeal, it's like, that video has gone fucking viral on Twitter. It's got over 6 million views.
Oh, wow.
And it's gone viral on TikTok. It's gone viral everywhere. I didn't see it on YouTube. I just downloaded it from YouTube because I found a channel. And it's like, I didn't even say a name in the video. I actually refrained from actually bullying her. I didn't even say her name. I didn't say she had a YouTube channel either. I just said it's a video. It's like, and then they still upheld the appeal, upheld the banning because YouTube enjoys pedophiles.
How did you defeat the ban? Like, how did you actually? Was it a sort of thing where you have to delete the video and then you get to come back?
Yeah, you've got to delete the video every time.
Oh, okay, that's what it is. Okay.
Actually, you don't. It's not. You've got to delete the video. They delete the video for you.
Oh, wow.
It's like you don't get a choice in that. Like, you get a week's ban the first time. Then I got banned for what was the second time I got banned because this guy made. I don't know if you remember it, but he went sort of viral. I made a video about this guy from Arizona. He was running for some sort of state congress. I don't know how it works over there, but he made a funny video that was aired on terrestrial television over there, by the way, where he was in his house and he was saying that Democrats, it's like, you need guns. You need to have your guns because you don't know when some Democrats would come and invade your house. And he's like a big black guy.
He's a black guy. I saw that guy. Yeah.
Yeah, you saw the advert. And when he said Democrats, it just immediately a load of Ku Klux Klan members turned up, and it was a funny video. I thought it was fucking hilarious.
Yeah,
and it's a good video, and that got quite a lot of views. That video, and I got a lot of views actually for the size of me at the time. That stayed there. That was up for 4 months. That video, and nobody had a problem with it. And then for some reason, they started banning people who made a video about it. The Chrissy Mayer got banned. You know her, that woman comedian that's not funny. And
we could talk about that.
But, well, they're not funny. The women are not funny. It's a fact. But no, a lot of people got banned for that particular video. So I guess something went around YouTube where they were like, oh, we've got to get rid of that because it invokes racial hatred. And it's like, it's a fucking joke. It's obviously a joke. And you did. And then YouTube, for weeks, said they were going to let me back on and it was a mistake. They kept on publicly declaring it on Twitter through Team YouTube, saying, oh, we're really sorry. We're working on getting it back. And then I had to serve the 2-week ban and they never lifted the strike.
Just they were mentioning you by name or anyone who...
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
No, because I tagged them and I said, right, you banned me. This is obviously wrong. And they were like, actually, yeah, you're right. This is wrong. And it's like, don't worry, we'll lift the ban. And then it was like day something or other. And it's like, are you going to lift the ban at any point? Because I've got 1 day left of the ban. And it's like, and you still haven't unbanned me. And then they kept on saying, oh, well, we're going to. And you're like, well, you're not. Oh, yeah. They never lifted the strike. And then I got banned. My final ban was in December for cyberbullying Joe Biden.
Let's talk about cyberbullying Joe Biden. This is an amazing story.
But like, do you remember with Joe Biden? He I wish I still had the video up there, but it'd take it off you. But do you remember when Joe Biden he started speaking to a 14-year-old girl
that one time?
Like, yeah. Oh yeah, that one time. But like, Joe Biden was doing his normal thing. He was like being a bit spaced out, wandering around. And then he like started talking to this girl and her mother was filming it. And then like, she's kind of like, she's like all right. She's like, yeah, she was definitely 14. I think it was confirmed that she was 14. But like, Joe Biden started like holding her on her shoulders, like gripping her and like rubbing her shoulders, and then like moving into sort of. It looked like he was going to start nuzzling her neck or something. And he was like, "No guys until you're 30" or something like that.
I remember that. Yeah,
yeah. And he's like really squeezing those shoulders, and then she like looked up and she's like, "Okay," and like the way she said it was like, "Oh fucking hell, this is weird." And like, but this is the president also, so I don't know what to do. Like, and then I made a video about that saying, And it was wasn't that joking because I was just sort of like, look at him. He's a pedophile. He's an absolute pedophile. Like,
There goes my... Go ahead.
I didn't say that much, to be honest. It was a very short video. I just wanted to get it out because it was funny. And like, he did the content, not me. And it's like, really, with that, because I was just like, now Joe Biden is known for his love of young women, like very young women. Here he is. And then it was nothing different to what I'd normally do. And then for some reason, I got banned for cyberbullying him. Harassment and cyberbullying.
You were harassing the president of the United States?
Yeah, I harassed. YouTube accused me of harassing the president of the United States. And then I filed an appeal and I said, I can't harass the president of the United States. It's not possible. I live in the UK and he'd probably kill me if I tried harassing him. And they were like, no, you definitely harassed him. You stay banned.
No, go ahead.
No, you go.
Aren't the rules of harassment that he has to personally view your video?
Well, that is what I said in my follow-up video. And it's like, it doesn't really work if somebody else says you're harassing that person because they're the ones who are supposed to feel harassed. It's like, I can't decide whether you're being harassed, for instance. I'd probably say, well, maybe you shouldn't treat him that way. That's a bit harsh. But I can't actually go, you're harassing him because you're the person who's supposed to decide that.
Shouldn't we ask him? Should we ask him if he feels
exactly? Well, this is what I'm thinking. Is like, did they actually ask Joe Biden and he felt bullied by me?
What if he did?
Maybe he is scared.
He's hiding. He's having ice cream in the dark.
Yeah.
He's worried that the fish self is going to come get him.
Well, he hasn't groped any more children since I made that video.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah, I've taught him a lesson.
Thank you for your service to my country.
Hey, you're quite welcome. Stop the president from being a pedophile.
That's all it took was just one video.
One sternly worded video.
Exactly. Do you have a minute to talk about like what happened with Keffals as well? That's been another. Oh
yeah.
So what is that all about?
Keffals is an opportunistic idiot who had the opportunity of a lifetime and blew it.
Okay.
Because like that grift was very smart, actually. Pardon me. Like that was a smart grift, what she did with Kiwi Farms. I can't fault it, really. I mean, I like that website, so it pissed me off. But they got the entire internet on their side.
What is Kiwi Farms? So for the people listening who don't know who Kiwi Farms is and don't understand the whole saga, like let's just run through it.
Kiwi Farms is a really bad site in reality that documents really mentally ill people who display a little bit too much of themselves online.
Okay.
Like Chris Chan. And Kiwi Farms is a great website if you're into that sort of stuff. If you're not, you're probably horrified by it, which is what Keffals played to. Because a normal person going to look at Kiwi Farms and some of the stuff they talk about and some of the bullying they do, it would frighten you. You would think, what the hell is this?
Got it. So
the Keffals played up to that and said they were getting stalked, said they were getting bullied by Kiwi Farms when actually, or they were doing, in Keffals' case, was calling her like rude trans slurs. But they were also documenting the fact that Keffals had a DIY HRT business that was selling to underage children, which is the real reason why Keffals went mental and started saying, "Oh no, we need to take this website down. And the entire internet rallied around her. That's the actual reason. There's no other reason.
So Kiwi Farms was like a 4chan style site, but against trans people. And so she went after Kiwi Farms and they went back after her and determined that she was doing, HRT sales on the side.
Well, sort of, but Kiwi Farms isn't like, Kiwi Farms is a forum. It just documents lolcows on the internet. But Keffals came to it because Keffals was very obnoxious. And it's like, Keffals at the start was extremely obnoxious. It doesn't matter whether they were trans or not. It's like they automatically dislike them because of the way they just behaved. It was like everything they did was very annoying. You know what I mean? You all know, everybody knows somebody like that, don't you? Where it's like, oh no, I fucking hate you immediately.
Yeah.
Like within 30 seconds of listening to anything they've said, it's like, no, I don't like you and I'll never like you. But and they started documenting her because she was doing streaming to more or less nobody.
Mhm.
And it's like and somebody found them and it's like, this person's a fucking idiot. It didn't really get much traction. And then somebody noticed that they had this HRT video, the HRT website, and all of these things like about how to do it, how to make it yourself, or they'll ship it to you from Brazil or somewhere like that. And it's like, and then Keffel started going, oh, well, these are bullying me. These people are bullying me. And you're like, well, they're not. But like by that time, it was like the snowball had happened.
Got it.
And the entire internet had gone against them. And then Cloudflare dropped them, which fucking broke the website.
Mm-hmm.
Which actually broke Cloudflare because Cloudflare, like people have left Cloudflare in droves now.
Yeah.
Because the one thing you should be doing when you're protecting people from DDoS attacks is not being politically aligned.
Well, I mean,
because that really hurt their business because the only thing they do is protect websites from DDoS attacks. And then they were like, oh, well, we're going to drop this website for political reasons. Then like it doesn't matter whether you're left or right. It's like everybody was like, well, fuck this place. Like we'll go somewhere else now because that is not what you want to be doing when you're offering internet protection.
Got it. Okay, that makes a lot of sense because I've picked up little bits of the waves of this, but I wasn't really super following it. But that makes a lot of sense, especially what happened to Cloudflare, because I think so many companies are being forced to, unfortunately choose a political side over issues that it's like, can you just leave us alone to run our business? That's
what they did at the first, and then the next day they capitulated, which I think the owner of the company was threatened by his board to be thrown off his own company, and then he's come out months later, saying that was the worst thing we could have possibly done. We were so fucking stupid to do that.
Wow,
it's like the damage is done now, buddy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's all to what protect trans kids, right? That was probably the logic that was used.
Yeah. Well, to make sure Keffels doesn't run out of victims.
Well,
that was actually the reason.
That's a pretty epic grift. That if you're selling basically hormone therapy on the side, like, oh my god.
I don't know I don't know how big it was, that video. See, the thing is, Keffels, again, a lot of people don't realize that, like, if you just shut the fuck up, people won't care. It's like with same with Jack Murphy. If you just shut up, didn't fucking go heartfelt, then nobody would have cared.
Yeah.
No one. But with Keffels, no one would have cared about this. And then Keffels thought she won for a while. And it's like, she got that $100,000 on GoFundMe. And then Kiwi Farms came back online. And now it's you can't knock it offline even now, because now it's unstoppable, because they've reinforced it to the point where you can't take it offline now, because it went offline for a week before when Cloudflare dropped him.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's bigger than ever. I mean, Keffels isn't the main star of the show anymore because Keffels has now gone into rehab. But that whole saga, I mean, it was interesting at the time, and I kind of like Keffels as a meme, but it's just so extraordinarily artistic when you look back on it. It's just so weird.
It's like the whole. This ties into the whole like Dylan Mulvaney thing that's happened this past week with Bud Light releasing the Dylan Mulvaney can. That now people are starting to say that maybe that was like a personal thing, like it wasn't actually a formal sponsorship from the company.
That's hilarious, though. No, he is a sponsor. He's also the sponsor of Nike. Nike Air Bras has sponsored him now.
Really?
Nike Sports Bras, yeah. So funny. I don't see why conservative people are getting. Now, it's the funniest thing I've ever seen. It's just this fucking little twink guy, like pretending to be a woman and being a woman better than women. He's like, where he's getting all the sponsorship deals. Where are the women's sponsorship deals? Right. They're all like, oh, well, I haven't got any sponsorship deals. Well, no, this guy has. He's just pretending to be you, and it's like, why aren't you being a better woman?
Yeah, you should.
Fuck you.
You should try being a woman like Dylan Mulvaney does and see. Yeah,
men are better than women,
even at being women.
Yeah, we are. That's the thing.
It's like the Leah Thomas.
Leah, my queen Leah Thomas. She's the best. I don't know why they banned her from worldwide sports competitions. She was the greatest woman swimmer the world has ever seen and will ever see of all time in history, and all history that hasn't been written yet.
I was surprised to find that she had actually been banned from competition. I'm not sure how they pulled that off.
Well, it's racism.
Oh, obviously.
Yeah, but like, yeah. I mean, they have this one thing where it's like, oh, we can make women's sports watchable. Oh, ban it. You know, what the fuck are you doing? like no one cares about women's sports and will ever care about women's sports. You have the one person where I watched a women's swimming match because of Leah Thomas. I would never watch women swimming because they're slow as fuck and they don't know how to swim.
Yeah.
And it's like, I watched that women's sports match with Leah Thomas in it, watch her destroy the opposition because it was hilarious. And now they're banning men from women's sports just at a time when men can make women's sports good.
Well, they've got that this past weekend. There's that trans golfer who played in the women's PGA and won.
Yeah, the new queen of women's sports.
with the Eve's apple. Is that what you said?
Yeah. Well developed one.
You're a big fan of all these trans people.
I love them. I love the trans sports community. They're great because fuck women. At the end of the day, they've spent their entire lives, my entire lives, invading men's spaces and being very annoying about it. And now we are invading women's spaces and we're being better than them at everything because obviously we are. And it's like, we're not even sending our best. We're sending like these weird little gay guys and we're still kicking their ass. Like Dylan Mulvaney. It's like no other TikTok girl has got a fucking like Bud Light sponsorship. He's been a woman for 365 days. He's already the face of Bud Light. Fuck you, women. Fuck off.
Yeah, catch up. You should be trying harder all these years.
Get better. Get good.
All these years of feminism, and it still just took 1 year.
We 1 year. And then it's like, oh, well, we'll just do it better.
Well, we have to find something for women to do now because what are they going to do? Because men are doing all the thing that women were doing that they took from men.
They can lose the right to vote. That'll keep them occupied.
Well, they're going to need men for that too.
Well, yeah, we'll do that for them. Then they can, I don't know what they can do. They can just fucking screech. I don't give a shit.
Oh, man. I don't know what I would do without comic relief in life because I think I would probably lose my mind.
Well, yeah, I don't see why anybody's taking any of this seriously. What does it even matter?
Thank you.
And like this fucking Dylan Mulvaney, he's fucking hilarious. He's actually quite funny. It's like, have you actually watched with the sound on that Bud Light video that he did where he's like talking about sports?
Oh,
happy, you know, that's kind of funny. It's so funny. It's like what a woman would say, but funny. Like it's like an airheaded woman. He's not even fucking. He's probably. I almost guarantee you this guy works for the CIA in some way, and he's always every Friday night he's going down to the bar with the bros for some beers. And I don't think he's actually a trans person at all because he's got very good comedy timing and he is he's like mocking women in just the right way where they don't get it, but I do. Like, because that's how, I don't know, like drag queens over in this country, like I don't know what they're like in over there, but drag queens for decades, longer than I've been alive, they've been like a pub act. Like you hire them. Like, and they come on, speak on stage and do a little drag. And they're guys with beards and stuff. And they talk in gruff voices. They just dress up as like, as women. And they spend an hour shitting on women. And like totally just saying, oh, women are retarded, aren't they? Yeah. And then and the husbands love it because it's like, oh yeah, my wife is a fucking retard. I hate her. And then the women are for some reason like going, oh, we are stupid, aren't we? Oh. And they love it as well for some unknown reason. I don't get it. But they're like, they'll spend an hour standing in front of them going, women, eh? These are so fucking dumb. And they're like, and clap along like seals. And you're like, I don't know. But like, every time you hire one, it's always knocked out of the park and everybody absolutely loves it. But that's what drag queens do, is just take really mock women. And that's what this Dylan Mulvaney guy is doing. He's doing it really well in a modern way.
Sort of like the evolution of drag queen comedy.
Yeah. Because it is very subtle. And I suppose if you were stupid, like someone like Matt Walsh, you can get very, very angry about it and going, oh, I hate this. And it's like, he is a man. It's like, no shit. Like, everyone knows he's a man. Like, no one's really, his whole video series is called 365 Days of Womanhood. That means he knows he's not a woman because he's not 1 year old. It's like, so he's quite aware of that himself. So what the fuck are you talking about? Who cares? Like,
did you see the Babylon Bee article that said Babylon, like, scientists are trying to determine how many beers you'd have to drink, how many Bud Lights you'd have to drink for Dylan Mulvaney to pass as a woman?
Yeah, I like that one.
That was pretty good.
I like the Babylon Bee. Again, they don't take things too seriously.
No, they don't.
It's the ones who do, like, I hate that Matt Walsh guy. I really fucking hate him.
Because he takes things too seriously.
Well, he's like, oh, like, tries to be, he's like, oh, I'm mean. I'm the queen of mean. And you're like, okay. Like, is this supposed to be, like, is this a plus point for you? Like, are you supposed to be proud of this? I don't know. Like, what's wrong with why? Like, he's like, oh, I just tell everybody the truth. And you're like, I told that trans guy he looks like a man. And you're like, they know. But it's like, what does it? Why would you do that? What does it matter? And it's like, I just don't get these people where he's like, oh, the trans, and he said the other day, oh yeah, he said all drug dealers should be killed.
Matt Walsh said that.
Yeah. He's like, well, he's like else, like he referenced the country where they do that. And then he's like, why don't we do that in America? And you're like, well, I don't know, because it's probably a really bad idea. And he's like, no, we should do this. And you're like, okay. Like, all right. But like, I don't know. I just don't understand these people. Just laugh at it. It's funny.
Right. Well, and that's ultimately why I wanted to talk to you, because you don't take any of this seriously. And it's so easy to take it.
I'll shoot you.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is it's so easy to take it so deadly seriously. And to your point about grifting, like that's part of how the grift hooks you. Is that
to be outraged, you've got to be in a permanent outrage cycle.
Exactly. And so if you can just take a step back and laugh at it all and not take it so seriously, you can actually exit the grift.
Yeah, but they can't, because that's what they know people can't. Because if you flick through Twitter and you don't like, because I try not to really interact with many people other than I don't reply to many tweets. I normally quote tweet because I like the people who follow me and I like the people who I follow. Well, and
mostly.
But if you reply to people, you see people will not get the joke. They will refuse to get the joke, and people like Matt Walsh and Simple, they know that is the case. And Trump, to some degree, Trump is like one of the biggest grifters in the world. Although he is funny because he is selling that T-shirt with his mugshot on it, which I kind of want to buy. but they know that certain people can't. They're constantly locked into this outrage thing. Because you look at the trends on Twitter, it's just people absolutely seething about everything. Yeah. Everything. They are absolutely seething about it. And you're like, who cares? What does it matter? Yeah. Can't you just all calm down a little bit? But they can't.
Hi, everyone. I just want to take a minute to tell you about my upcoming event with Annalise from Feminine Not Feminist here in Phoenix, Arizona. On Saturday, April 15th, from 3 to 6 p.m. in Chandler, we're doing a live podcast plus meet and greet at the Bottle and Bean. I know this podcast goes out around the world, so if you happen to be in Phoenix or the surrounding area, I hope you'll come by and spend the afternoon with us. The idea is to take some of these online relationships we have and bring them a little closer into the real world. As you may have heard me mention on Instagram, Annalise is my most downloaded podcast of all time, and I'm the most downloaded podcast of all time on her show. So this will be our third total conversation. We'll be covering many of the usual topics, including Christian dating, motherhood, parenting, and Annalise is reading The Queen's Code by Alison Armstrong. So we'll be talking about that book and its impact on her. The podcast will maybe take up a couple hours of the afternoon, but there'll be plenty of time for networking at the Bottle and Bean, which has excellent coffee, wine, and snacks. So plan to make an afternoon of it. And if you're listening to this podcast and you're local to Phoenix, I look forward to meeting you. You can get tickets by going to renofmen.com/meetup, which you'll find in the description of this podcast. We've made the afternoon affordable. We're just selling tickets to offset the cost of the venue rental. So Annalise and I look forward to seeing you on Saturday, April 15th in Chandler, Arizona from 3 to 6 p.m. at the Bottle and Bean. Go to renofmen.com/meetup to buy tickets, and we'll see you there. Yeah, they're very hooked in. Like I think the dopamine cycle of reward from engagement. Like there were books that came out a couple years ago about, or maybe a little bit longer than that, about how all these social media apps were designed by people who worked for like Las Vegas casino, like gaming companies, and it's all designed to game your own brain to make sure that you stay hooked for novelty and rewards and all this stuff. So people are now.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
a lot of sense.
They're all hooked into these devices and all these different social media platforms. Pick your favorite, and it's really easy to get completely lost in not only the platform but the seriousness of what's coming through it, rather than like take a step back and like, this is actually really comical and retarded, guys. Like, are we paying attention to this? Right? But that kind of it's a really short supply.
But do you know the best weapon against these people as well, if you really dislike them, if you really dislike Dylan Mulvaney, if you really hate him, is laughing at him.
Yeah,
because they hate it. They actually they love you hating them. They love it. Yep. Like all of these people, absolutely like careful. They love it's when people are like going, "Oh, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you," because it like also engages their fan base to defend them. But if you just laugh at them, then they have no defense to laughter. Yeah. Because you can like their fan base can't defend you against laughter. They can just go, oh, "You're a bigot," and you go, "Yeah, so what?" Like,
right.
But if you're seething at them, then it's great because it's engagement all around. If you're just going, "Look at this fucking weird troon," like no one cares about that. It's like no one can actually fight against it because they were like, "Oh, you're a transphobe." It's like, yeah, I know. like next question. Like they can't defend against stuff like that if you just constantly mock them. But it doesn't occur to these people to just laugh at them and they'll go away.
Well, that's the thing. Like when you did your Dylan Mulvaney video, and I think you shared how, it was almost as if this Bud Light campaign couldn't have been better designed to get everyone in the world engaged, because all the
genius.
People, yeah, exactly. All the people on the left will share it because trans rights, and then all the people on the right will share it out of outrage, and it's like you just blasted Bud Light all over the world. Like, yeah, there's gonna be a backlash from it, but if you wanted to create a brand impression, like, congratulations, everyone around the world has now heard about it.
You made the worst beer in the world ever made, the most famous beer in the world.
Yeah.
Well done.
Do you think the get woke, go broke equation applies? Like, do you think the backlash will be strong enough that it will ultimately, because I don't think
get woke, go broke, it doesn't work. It's never actually happened.
It's never happened. Well, I mean, like, look at Star Wars. Look at all these, like,
they make billions of dollars.
Well, I mean, like, I guess go broke doesn't mean like actually collapse into dust, but it
doesn't mean anything.
Well, I mean, I think people enjoy the content less. Like, they're still churning out a lot of woke stuff, but is anyone actually seeing it?
There's one thing that people, there's one thing people are missing. It's like, oh, look, this new Star Wars, this new Marvel, it's all woke, and it's like, buddy, they're made for children. It's like, they're not for you fucking idiots. You liked Star Wars when you was a child because it's a kid's movie. And it's like, now the new ones are for kids. The ones who were made in the 70s were slightly more adult because they treat children a little bit differently than they do now. And they treat them more like adults. So they kind of pass as adult films now, but they were kids films at the time. And now you've got these baby films that you're like, oh, well, this isn't Star Wars. And it's like, kids absolutely fucking adore it. That's why there's so many toys or Star Wars toys all over the place.
That's
because it's just a toy commercial. That's all it is.
That's all it has been. That's all it's always been.
That's all it ever has been. Yeah. Because he said, you have the profits for the movies. I don't give a shit about them. I want all the rights to the toys. That's what George Lucas did with the first movie. And because he knew. if it succeeded, then the toys would be what, because he had a cool little robot, the gay robot, and like Luke Skywalker and the hot chick.
Yeah. Well, and
So
and the
Darth
super
Vader, obviously.
Well, and the cowboy, like the Han Solo cowboy kind of character.
But it's children. It's all children's stuff. That's another thing I don't understand. That's caught on YouTube. Like, oh, Marvel movie flops. And like, fucking kids movies. What? Why are you caring?
Yeah.
People like, oh, Hogwarts Legacy. Like, who is paying that? Who is over 10? I mean, come on.
Yeah. And I think this is also kind of a grift, actually, where all this outrage kind of drives people to buy and engage with these products just to prove a point. Like, oh, Hogwarts Legacy is this terrible racist. Like, and so now we all have to go buy Hogwarts Legacy to support this, to support my political cause through video games, right?
That is another. That's the YouTube. That's the YouTube. More YouTube monetizable. Same grift as Tim Pool and the rest of them, but for dumber people. That's what the quartering does. I mean, I kind of like the quartering after his base breakdown on Twitter, where he started called out Mike Cernovich for sucking trans dicks. Yeah, that was great. That was fucking great, yeah. and he was not lying because we've all read that article.
Yeah,
but that's for dumber people. That's the same outrage cycle, but for more stupid people, the consumers. They're sort of like, oh, the Funko Pop people. Like, oh, I hope this movie fails that I'm going to buy and watch anyway. And it's like, you're like, well, you've bought it already. It's like, oh, it flops. Ant-Man flops, even though I saw it 10 times. Like, oh, okay.
Just to do a hate video on it.
Yeah, I hated it, but I also bought all the toys. And you're like, okay. Like,
this. Go ahead.
No, you carry on.
No, this is all insight to a world that I don't participate in. But again, like, I'll put on any number of like pop culture channels, like or nerd culture channels is probably better, like Critical Drinker and stuff like that. Like, I really enjoy the stuff that he does, and I'll just put it on when I'm making dinner or something, just to have something on in the background. And that's how I kind of hear about these things. But I gather that for people that are in these worlds, that it's a really big deal. Like, I don't see.
I think so. Yeah, they seem to. I mean, they get a lot of views, and if you read the comments, people are angry about stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I understand why people were mad about the Lord of the Rings series, because at least, for many of the friends that I have, like the Lord of the Rings is actually a really treasured book from their childhood. And, maybe they didn't get worked up about it personally, but I can understand why a lot of people.
But apparently that was quite good.
I never even.
From what I've heard, like the Amazon Lord of the Rings, like they all made out, it's like, oh, because some of the dwarfs were black, and you're like, how can a dwarf be black? Because they spend all their time underground, which is a legitimate complaint. But like, I mean, I don't think it matters too much. But
you're not going to need too much melanin down there in the caves.
Exactly. I mean, they're right, but it's like, I don't think I don't think you should care too much. But apparently, after all that was said and done, it turned out not to be that bad. And like, I think because I know a lot of people who thought it was going to be really shitty. Like, because I know a few people who liked Lord of the Rings, and then they said, no, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that good. Most people didn't watch it to the end, as far as I can see and also from what the data says. Like, it said that people tailed off, but I assume that's the same with most series on Netflix and stuff now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that was the thing, is I don't think anyone said that it was like truly god awful, but that it was just kind of like,
they were before it was released. They were like, oh, this is the worst thing in the world, and you're like, none of you have seen it.
Yeah, I guess that's the question. Like, some people had really high expectations for it, and it didn't meet their expectations, and then others really hoped for it to be really terrible, and it wasn't really terrible, but it wasn't very good. And people are so attached to the original movies that something that isn't very good compared to the original movies. I didn't see it, but
if you've read the books and then you've seen the films are an abomination to the books as well.
A lot of people say that, yeah.
Yeah, but like it's what you like, isn't it?
That's true. Do you get the chance to interact or network with a lot of YouTube creators or to talk with them personally? No. Sort of a cutthroat dog kind of world.
I don't want to talk to them. I mean, I talk to a few smaller people. I talk to Dick Masterson every now and again on Twitter, but no, not with those people. I mean, I've had shout outs from them.
So they know who you are and they know about your content.
People know who I am, yeah, because I know they know who I am as well. Because if I make a video and they immediately make something about the same thing, I don't want to sound arrogant, but I make things first, and then coincidentally, the video with the same subject gets made.
Can you give me an example? Like maybe you don't have to name names if you don't want, but but which ones are they tracking with after you?
Simple. I know for a fact he's copied me because I found out something. I can't remember exactly what it was. I found out something that I scooped it. It wasn't me just finding it out. I found out about this thing about Hunter Biden, and then he made a video about it.
Oh, wow.
And it got fucking 10,000 views in about 2 hours. That's like one of the quickest views things that I ever done. And he made a video about the same topic, and okay, you saw that video then, did you, buddy?
Infamous.
Yeah.
What do you have any goals for the channel? Like, are you trying to grow it? Or is this something that you do on the side?
Banned.
What's that? Don't get banned.
Not get banned. I'm trying to grow it. What's my estimated revenue? $8.80, which is about £5. So that's for the last 28 days.
Oh, that's a nice cup of coffee.
I don't get good adverts on here.
No, I'd imagine not.
I get the shit adverts, and even then, I don't get all of them.
Well, I mean, obviously, I don't see you. Like, do you want to grow the channel? Do you want to? I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know. YouTube is a relatively new field for me that I usually just mostly use for my podcast at the moment.
I'd love to grow it.
You'd love to,
but okay. I don't think YouTube would ever let me.
No, they don't. They don't.
I keep gaining traction, and then they keep on starting bullying me. I didn't really get banned for cyberbullying Joe Biden.
Right. Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Like, do you think
it's not real? Right. It's not. Oh, they put it back on. Oh, wow. They gave it back. My video's back up.
Which one?
My No Serious Guys Until You're 30. The one that I was talking to. I actually got banned. It's been reinstated. They must have reinstated it when they remonetized me.
Well, you know I think I looked for you. Congratulations.
I've just noticed that when I was looking. Never. That's weird. They've never done that before.
Oh, well, maybe the new CEO is a fan.
Yeah, hopefully he is. I'd love to grow it, but I just don't see it happening. Because every time, I think when you start gaining subs at an alarming rate, your channel is flagged. Because then that's when the bullying starts. Because I gained I did something, I can't remember what video it was, and then I gained 1,000 subscribers in a day, and then I got I started getting I think they do a channel check on you when that happens, and I started getting all my videos age restricted, an 18+ thing. It just happened. I just kept on getting all these emails. I got 20 videos age restricted in the space of an hour. So it was like a human was actually watching these videos and seething like a weird soy at Google was going, oh my God, this fucking Nazi.
That was going to be my question. Do you actually have someone watching you? Because obviously
I think, well, you do. Yeah, you really do. Because you can tell.
Is that
it's the same person as well? Because they deny you appeals in 10 seconds.
Oh, so you get
which is not supposed to happen.
You get a caseworker assigned to you.
Yeah, but you can't ever see them or speak to them.
Right.
And you can tell that it's them because they're especially when they're doing the channel review, because they're picking on the videos that you're doing. If they're age restricting the trans videos that you're making, they're leaving the other ones alone, but they're constantly looking, and you can tell it's the same person doing this because it's happening on the same day in an hour or so. Somebody's just sitting watching your videos.
Didn't you make a video addressing the person who is banning you? Didn't I see one of those where you're talking specifically to the person who was assigned to watch your account? That sounds familiar.
Oh, I have made a video. Yeah, it's not specifically about that, but I have said that in a video. Fuck off, leave me alone.
Do you think a comedy is going to be increasingly banned from YouTube? People who ask,
yes,
yeah. Just say more about that.
Yeah, well, it just is. Unless it's approved comedy.
Approved comedy isn't funny.
Yeah, exactly.
women comedians.
Exactly. There's never been a funny woman comedian. A woman has never said anything funny, let alone be a comedian.
Unless it was a trans woman, then it was a man.
Oh yeah, then they're hilarious because they're men. That's what should happen next. We should have a woman stand-up comedian who is trans, and she'll just fucking kill it every single time, and they'll all get real angry.
That's like Christopher Hitchens used to say that women are not funny. I wonder what he'd say about that.
They're not, so he's right. They're not. Women are not funny. They do not understand jokes. I mean, the whole thing about like online discourse with a woman is like if you annoy her, she'll just go, "Oh, you've got a small dick." Oh, well done. And you're like, you've gone down to the universal value. 1 unit of value a woman understands sex. Good. Well done. Immediately. Right. It's just like, he's an incel. And you're like, I wasn't saying anything about sex or whether I lived in a basement or something like that. You immediately call me an incel because I disagreed with something totally unrelated to sex. Well done, woman. Right.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say I can confirm that's always what happens with online every single time. In fact, Kevin Samuels, rest in peace, was the one who came up with sign language, with shame, insults, guilt, and the need to be right. Like, because that's how it always would unfold. Is when you get into online conflict with a woman, first comes the shame, and if you make it through the shame, then you get the insults, and then you get the guilt, and then you get the persistent need to be right, and then she leaves. And I've seen this play out so many times. Every time. In fact, I almost track it. Like when I get into comment discussions, like on Instagram or Twitter, I always call it like, that is the first step of a 4-step pattern. I bet you can make all 4 steps. I believe in you. They don't like that.
I mean, even when you're actually explaining this online, they will then chime in and go, well, you're an incel. And you're like, yeah, that's literally what I've just said that you were going to do. And you did it. Yes. Well done. Right? Because you're not very smart or funny.
Right. And this gets back to the whole like taking it all. This is something that I fall into is that I can often take these things a little bit too seriously. And I've had my buddy Tim, shout out Tim, point that out to me in various ways that like it is very easy to get sucked into these online discussions and debate and forget that there's a world out there where it's like it's actually real people instead of what might be bots or artificial intelligence or whatever, behind a face or an avatar that you can't actually see if it's a person or not.
And the person you're probably talking to is retarded. You should always remember that online. It's like there's almost 100% chance that person is a fucking idiot who's not going to understand even vaguely simple concepts.
I don't usually. Now I will take that into consideration. Like maybe the person that I'm talking to is actually autistic and doesn't understand humor in that kind of way.
There's an extremely high chance of it. Extremely high.
Excellent.
It really does ruin. That's why I don't reply to people very much. I like to try and like sort of like I mute a lot of people because I'll just say something that I know will annoy them, and then I'll come back to it and watch them. I won't get any notifications for it. And I'll come back and I've replied about 5 times. Like going, well, I don't think you're wrong. Blah, 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 blah. And you're like, well, okay. Like, I just don't see why people would waste all this time on being angry on the internet.
I don't either. Like I'll respond to people, but I won't go onto someone's wall and like start noise with them. I don't understand people who do that.
No, I don't understand why anybody would carry it on and they wouldn't like because you look at some of these conversations, they're like on Twitter, because I don't use anything else than Twitter nowadays. And and they're there's like 20 comments, things, and you're like, come on. Surely at like comment 2, you're like, oh, this is getting a bit long. And it's like, I'm talking to somebody I don't know, and none of this matters. Why am I wasting this time?
Right. And it can be quite a waste of time too.
Well, it's all a waste of time. Everything you do online is a waste of time. Even like me posting, like mocking people and whatnot, it's still a waste of time. But I find it funny. And it's like, I know, but the other people there, I know they're not finding it. They're not finding it fun. They're like screaming about how the Democrats are destroying the country and they're going to make us all gay. And it's like, you're like, well, it's like you're imagining like a leftist raping you, and it's like, and then you're really upset about it, and it's like, are you having fun, buddy? Is this fun for you? And it's like, what do you? Another thing that I kind of like to say to people online, it's like, because they're like, oh well, you've got to like do something about it. It's like, what are you doing? You're talking on Twitter.
Yeah.
And like they never replied to that. They like I don't know whether they realize that they're idiots or just move on to the next thing.
Well, I think people just want their opportunity to kind of bully people around, and when you actually push back, it's like, oh, okay, I don't have anything to say to that.
No, yeah, well, don't get me wrong. I enjoy bullying. That's all the internet is for. But bully the weak is my motto. But like I don't understand this seething. I don't understand, because if you're not having fun, I can see that you're not having fun. If you all leftists are satanic and they're gonna kill your kids and have sex with all the children. You're like, wow, that's a rip roaring time you're having over there. Imagining that, it's like, can I join your gang? It sounds fun.
Can we hang out?
Are we just gonna talk about kids being raped? And like, that sounds fun. And it's like, there are people who will do that. Like all of Matt Walsh and Tim Pool's followers, that's all they do online.
It's true.
They just sit there talking about, the kids. I guarantee most of them don't even have fucking children.
Right.
And it's like I just don't. I don't. There are certain bits that I just can't. I mean, I think it's funny that these people are being. I mean, I don't like the grifting, but I think it's funny that these people fall for it, because you fall for something, you deserve it. But like, I mean, you shouldn't really take advantage of them. But
yeah,
I don't know.
Well, no,
I don't feel any sympathy, but I don't think you should be doing it.
No, I agree. And in fact, I found myself wondering, like, how many people listening to this podcast will fall into the very traps that we're talking about.
Oh, many. I made a Jordan Peterson video mocking Jordan Peterson for crying constantly because he's a bitch. And then the amount of comments like, oh well, how dare you talk about Jordan Peterson like that? And you're like, he told everybody to sort of like, be a man, buy my book about lobsters. And it's like, clean your penis. And then it's like, and then he gets in a fucking Russian cut. You're like, but ignore the fact I love benzos so much. I'm going to put myself in a coma in Russia with them because their benzos are so cool. But you should sort your life out, bucko. And you're like, because he pretends to be like a normal person. Like Tim Pool is a super autistic little weird emo kid. And it's like, Jordan Peterson pretends to be a respectable man.
True. I think that is a good point that a lot of people raise, is that it's very difficult to be telling people to sort out your lives. But I mean, to his credit, like, I think
they're all degenerates. They're all like, you should let me tell you how to fix my life, fix your life. All of them are like this.
Yeah.
But Jordan Peterson is the worst because he comes across as like a granddad. And like for years, everybody thought, I didn't really like him because he fucking cried like a baby all the time.
That's a new thing. That's a new thing, though.
No, he cried a lot. Like in his when he went real viral with his Joe Rogan podcast, he cried in those. And I was like, well, I'll let him off once. And then he did it again. You're like, well, yeah, I don't know. He seems to be like a woman. And then he cried. Now he cries constantly because he's got brain damage from benzos. But he is. I'm not even joking. He's got severe brain damage. Now he's like, everybody who's anonymous online should go to jail.
Yeah, that I'm not a fan. That, I mean, when I started getting very active on Twitter, I did come to understand some of what he said, which was that, it's very difficult when you post something. Like, imagine you have millions of followers like Jordan Peterson does, and you have or any content creator of his or a similar scale, and you actually want to interact with the people who are serious instead of just the reply guy with some sort of avatar. Like, I understood the desire, like, is there some way that I can comb through all of these to interact with the people on this global network who are very serious, as opposed to the ones who just want to start trouble? Like, is there some way to put the people who are anonymous in a separate category for people who are not? And so I did understand that. And at the same time, like, it just came across. I mean, and I think there was.
But that's not why.
Right.
That's not why he was after what. Because Jordan Peterson never said anything about online anonymity. But the trigger point was when he came back and he became Jewish and Jordan Peterson. He signed for the Daily Wire. Mr. Peterstein decided to do an interview with Benjamin Netanyahu.
Yeah, that was not received well.
And tell him, Israel's amazing, isn't it? Have you looked at that video's like ratio? It's got like nearly 150,000 dislikes and 73,000 likes.
Oh wow!
And it's like his entire community hated it and started bullying him in comments. And then by total coincidence, he wanted everybody unmasked.
Oh, is that
anonymous?
Is that
that's
what did
why
it? Okay.
He tried to wrap it up into a business like meaning, but that was the actual reason because it was coincidentally the day after that happened.
Oh, that was when the anonymous troll demons comments started coming out. Okay.
Yeah, that's when he started seething because everyone was like, "Why the fuck are you talking to this guy?"
Yeah,
that's what he did. I don't care what anybody thinks of Jews or whatever. And it's like, this looks fake. It is fake.
Got it.
Because you're just trying to please your new boss because he's just giving you $10 million.
Is that how much he got from Daily Wire?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, that makes a lot of sense because I remember when that anonymous troll demon thing, those comments kind of happened, and it was like, everyone that I know reacted really strongly to it because like, wait, why are we doing this? Because I have a lot of Bitcoin guests on, and we talk about the need for online anonymity, like you have to be able to have that in digital currencies and all that stuff. So privacy is a real concern for a lot of people, and so that he was suddenly talking about making everything not anonymous anymore was like, wait, what's going on there? So I understand now what's driving that.
Yeah. And the dumb thing is that he lives in Canada and he got I don't know whether he got his medical license taken off him for comments on the internet.
That's a good point.
but because he's so butthurt about everybody going, what the fuck, Jordan? Like, no one wants to see this shit. Like, I don't want to see some Benjamin Netanyahu, one of the most corrupt people in the entire world, whether you like Israel or not. And it's like I don't want you to absolutely be fucking on your knees. The video is entitled "Does Israel Deserve to Exist?" You should lay it on a bit thinner, maybe. It's like, I don't know. It's like,
this was after he had gone on stage in Israel and was crying and saying that the world was in Israel's hands or something like that. But,
oh yeah. No, he's crying. I've lost track of his crying recently.
Yeah.
Although I did like it when he was crying. He discovered live music exists the other week. Did you see that?
No.
And he was on a podcast. I think he was on Joe Rogan on his return, and he's like crying his eyes out. Like, oh, this guy, and this guy, he was playing this amazing music, and the crowd was going wild. But unfortunately for him, his daughter had posted the video of that bar he was in, and it was a country music bar, and it was terrible, and there was no crowd. So they kept on showing like the Joe Rogan where he's like weeping, going, "This was the best music I've ever heard in my life." And then it like cut to the bar, and it's like this guy is playing bass really badly, and it's like dong 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 dong, and he's like, and then the crowd was going crazy, and there's like 3 people there going, this is shit. And then he's like, oh, I'm Jordan Peterson.
And this is, I mean, again, we come back to the whole notion of, of the online grift, by creating something simulated and making a big deal out of it. You turn everything, and it kind of goes both ways too, because you have the, let's create a moment that doesn't really exist. And like, that's what Brian Williams did. Like, I was there in the helicopter and the bombs were exploding around us. It's like, that didn't happen, Brian Williams. And then, so you kind of create this moment, and then you have the outrage cycle on the other side of it that other people are profiting off of as well. So it's like, that didn't happen. And it's just like this, this is all really landing for me as a way like, wow, like the internet is crazy. It's really crazy. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I think I remember Joe Rogan when I used to listen to him before he went a bit shit. He said in 30 years' time, it's like we're going to look back at how we behaved on the internet, and we're going to go, "Well, Jesus Christ, what savages!"
Yeah,
and I think it's because it's going to calm down. Well, eventually, it's going to start really regulated and policed. Eventually, probably, but I think people will. I don't think a lot of people know how to deal with the internet.
Well, say more about. I mean, I agree with you, but say more about that.
Well, because they believe everything. They literally do believe everything. It's like you say something, they're like, "Oh, okay." And you're like, there's no questioning it. It's like someone like COVID. Is this going to get played on you? Are you going to put this on YouTube?
Probably, yes.
Okay, so COVID was totally real and really, really legitimate, and everybody should get vaccinated at least 30 times. But like when you were looking through, like there were people who were like looking like even the people who actually knew it was kind of a bit of a even when they knew it was totally fake, like the dumb shit they would believe and post, just sort of like, oh god, that's why people think we're conspiracy theorists. Right. Because of you believing everything you fucking see on Telegram.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But I don't know how you can stop it either, because again, it's autism. A lot of people have autism, and maybe take the internet off autistic people.
Need a breathalyzer for the internet.
Yeah, a humor test. Do you understand that this is funny? I think that would solve a lot.
I think it would actually. If you do you understand humor? Can you see that there's a person trying to tell a joke on the other side of this, or is it all so damn serious?
Do you understand that if Libs of TikTok shows you a video of a drag queen dancing in front of a child, that doesn't mean every single person who votes Democrats rapes babies? Do you understand that? Because I don't think they do. I don't think they understand this anymore. Because I look at the comments. I look through the comments of these people like Libs of TikTok, and because that's just turned into the worst account possible. Because that was funny before. I was funny, and now it's like not funny at all.
There's another account. There's a kid from Boston, young white kid, maybe in his 20s, and he was really funny. I think it was during COVID. He has this kind of bitter attitude, but he's gone from being like it's kind of from being like a frustration, a performance that he does out of frustration, to like a bit. Now it's an act. Now it's a character, and it's kind of become productized. It's kind of just what he does now, as opposed to, what, I'm upset, so I'm just going to rant into, TikTok for 30 seconds and it's going to be entertaining. But now it's like a performance. Now it's a business. And I think that I think once things make that shift from something that's created out of the pure desire to entertain into something that's like become productized, like TM, or like that's when that shift happens. And I really don't like it when that happens. But people become fake, I guess.
Because this is kind of dangerous with these type of things as well, because it's like militarizing people. Because I'll use Libs of TikTok as an example, because that's just turned up into straight anti-gay like account now. It's just doesn't like gay people. And it's like, I like bullying gay people as much as anybody else because it's funny. And it's like, and I'm up for bullying and making fun of anybody. I don't give a shit what you get up to in your life. I could not give less of a fuck. But if I find something that you do funny and I see it online, I will laugh at it. That's just how it is. But there's no humor in that Libs of TikTok account. It's just like placing videos and going, look, this is what the left are doing. They're all having sex with children. And you're like, no, that's just a gay guy. And you're like, no, he's a rapist. He's a child rapist. And like, no, I don't think he is. It's like, it's just a gay guy. Like, it's straight up weird now. But then their engagement is through the roof. And it's just people going, oh, these are demonic. They're all demonic weirdos. And you're like, oh, fucking nobody. I don't really care. What are you going to do about it?
I think there's I get that for sure, that there's a point where it becomes a game for its own sake, where it's like, wow, I can make a lot of money off of this. And this is what we're talking about. Like once someone realizes that with an act or with a bit or with a character or whatever, that they can make a lot of money off of it, it sort of loses that humanity. It loses that thing that like, and everything becomes, I guess, objectified. And I see this happen in my business with the subjects that I talk about with guys who talk about masculinity, and I'm going to talk about femininity, where it's like, Jack Murphy was a part of it. It's like, I don't know who he was before he started. Well, we all, unfortunately, I guess we do know. Okay. But yeah, but a lot of guys get into the space and they have some success talking about this series of subjects, and then suddenly they become like experts, or they become there's a hardness, there's a hard shell that kind of develops around them, where they become caricatures of themselves, or they become characters. And once they become characters on the stage and they lose all the aspects that make them interesting in three-dimensional people, that's when the grift starts. And that's when the profits really start rolling in. And that's the part that I think that it's easy to miss if you're not paying attention. If you're paying attention, you can see it happen, right? But if you're not paying attention, then it's just like this guy I've been following forever just suddenly starts, like Lives of TikTok was really funny at first, and now it's just a straight up, I don't know, like you say it's a gay hate account. I don't follow them, but I see some of the comments that go around. But I can think of dozens of examples of that where someone starts out saying something, being a three-dimensional person, and then very quickly they become two-dimensional as soon as they discover the angle that makes them the most money.
You've got to go for the monetization straight away. It's like Matt Walsh. Matt Walsh used to be quite funny. Like not sort of boomer funny. Like, I mean, he's not a boomer, but he's kind of like appealed to Trump boomer type people.
Yeah.
It's sort of amusing in a way. Like nothing you'd actually remember, but kind of like, okay, it's kind of funny, I'll follow him. And then he's just become like weirdly anti-trans. I mean, I mock trans people all the time. I don't really care. Like, I mean, if you want to fucking dress up as a woman and pretend you're a woman, go for it. Why would I care? It's got nothing to do with me. I wouldn't let you live in my house, but like, it doesn't matter. But it's like every post is like, just because they know it'll get through the roof engagement and it'll make people seethe. And I just think, I don't know, because like the thing with television is that it had limits.
Right.
Like the thing with the internet, and I'm not saying you need internet limits but because it has no real limits, everything is much more extreme. Like the outrage you used to put on the TV was about, like in my country, it's about illegal immigrants and like coming over the channel and stuff like that in boats and stuff like that. And they're like, we're all outraged about that. And it's like, but it's only very mild outrage because you can't really say too much because there's legal laws about what you can do on television. But on the internet, it's a free for all. So you can just basically almost like, well, you can't call for people to get murdered, but you can almost call for people to get murdered because you can insinuate it like that these people don't deserve to live, which is kind of what half of these people are doing. And you're like, so well, you're taking it to the extreme, like totally weird extreme, because there's nowhere for you to go now.
Yeah.
You have to keep on upping the ante. That's the thing with them. They have to keep on going now.
Yep.
I mean, once they finish the trans thing, they'll have to find something else. But the trans thing is so funny. I just don't think, like, I mean, there's a lot of astroturfing as well. Don't get me wrong, because this trans thing came out of nowhere. Yeah. Coincidentally, as soon as Obama took office, I wonder why that might be. But like, it's not a coincidence.
No, I don't think so. I mean, it's really ramped up. It's kind of wild, actually, that like why in the course of just a few short years, it's suddenly become like a major thing. It's every day you're hearing about this, and I find that absolutely baffling. That
Big Mike Obama. I'm not joking. That's a man.
Well, hey,
that's a fucking man.
That's what Joan Rivers said.
It is a man. And it's not a coincidence that all of this shit happened when he started turning up and run America. It isn't a coincidence. Because it's exactly the time that this all started like fucking taking shape.
Do you think Trump just drove everyone even more insane though?
I think they drove I think they're fucking around. It's the boomers. They will not fucking die. And I think there's a lot more things like all of this insanity is fueled very much by this on a state level. I don't know whether you say state, you say federal level, because state means like government to us, but it's not for you because it's a different name. But federal level, let's say for American people. But all this fuel is because the dollar is collapsing. Everything is on the verge of collapse, and it's like I don't know what inflation is like over here, but everything price has doubled over here.
Yeah,
and it's like, but we're supposed to be more angry about trans people for some reason, even though my money is literally worth half what it was this time last year. And it's like then Brazil, Russia, and China are making their own new currency, so the petrodollar is fucked, it's gone. And like once that comes online, and Africa as well, they're all joining forces to make a new currency. And it's like, but they don't tell you about that. That's never reported at all, ever, is it? And it's like, but you've got to fucking scream about Dylan Mulvaney and his Bud Light sponsorship.
That's so
So I think a lot of this is pushed. I mean, I don't think Tim Pool and stuff. I don't think they're like government employees. I think they're people who take advantage of like these things. But I think there's a lot of like federal encouragement for these issues to be pushed over what is actually happening.
That's a really good point.
Because I think I strongly believe COVID was there's something to like that they need an excuse for the ultra collapse that is coming.
Well, if you, I should send you a link to a podcast that I did with a friend of mine. He's another anonymous creator, which have been some of the best conversations I've had. His name is Laser Hodl, and we did a 5-hour. He's a big Bitcoin guy, and we did a 5-hour conversation about that very topic because he had kind of cracked the code about how COVID was a cover for a global monetary reset. Like that's actually
that's what I think
exactly.
But I don't think it worked.
I mean, but they're still kind of stumbling along with it. Like they're still trying to push it, right? Like I don't think they're going to give up on it because they have their.
I don't think they thought half of it through.
Do you think so? Because that's what I've been trying to figure out. It's like if this is the big evil master plan, like why is it so clumsy and obvious?
Because they're idiots. I mean, you've got people like Nancy Pelosi.
You have the best answers for
that. They are all stupid. I mean, it's like you've got Joe Biden. You've got fucking the person who's actually president, Susanna Rice, is also an idiot. And it's like they're all stupid and they all think, and they're all women. A lot of them are women, and women can't plan anything. It's like, and the other thing is China and Russia. I don't think half of the fucking country half of the world doesn't want anything to do with this shit.
True.
That's the thing. You've only got a certain point of Western civilization is gone. I think we're going to have to face up to that. Next 10 years are going to be very odd because the dollar's going to lose all its money, all its value. So, which means sterling is going to lose all its value. Euro is going to collapse, which it already has. The thing is, they've learned nothing from 2008. They carried on exactly. That was all. Like nobody made any fuss about the fact they bailed everything out with fake money, printed more money, and then just carried on as though nothing had happened. And then it's got to this point where they had to do something like COVID because they had to have a cover plan because it's going to collapse because the money cannot carry on being fake forever.
Yeah.
You can't keep on. I mean, they printed more money than they ever have in the past 3 years. They printed more money than they ever have in the history of the world.
Yeah.
It's all fake. It's not real money anymore.
This is actually really genuinely important. Like I think we've gone out of the realm of satire and now it's like we're talking about the people that we're criticizing, the Tim Pools and the Jack Murphys and to some extent the Jordan Petersons and all of these guys is like there's a way in which this ongoing outrage, dialogue, grift, whatever you want to call it, is actively distracting from the very real, very serious, and to some extent even Ukraine are distracting from the very real serious problem of global reset,
Ukraine is just stealing the last bit of money.
Exactly. And so I guess it helps put all the pieces together to say this is why we have to laugh at these people through this mediated reality because they're just jesters distracting us from the really problematic things going on.
There's no point in being outraged about any of this shit because if you're not going, where's my money? Then what are you fucking? Then why are you outraged? Who fucking cares if some guy is in a dress? You should be asking where your fucking money is.
Do you think it's easier to get outraged about a guy in a dress than because at least maybe there's the feeling that you can do something about it or own the libs or whatever versus like how are we going to actually push back on this global reset?
I mean, you're not owning anybody, are you?
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can do anyway. You can't push back on any of this. Done.
Just have to let it be and ride it and ride it out.
Well, it's done. You can't stop it because there's nothing. You can't rise up and kill them all. And it's like you rise up, kill them all, and it's like, oh great, kill them all. The fucking money's still worthless. They still borrowed everything to the hilt. They've still printed more money than it's worth. It's still all fucked. It's like the boomers have destroyed everything and they will not die. And then once they're dead, it's fucked. I mean, in America, you've got Joe Biden. He's fucking 81 years old.
I know.
And he's talking about running for president again. It's like the boomers will not fuck off. It's like nobody, I don't know what it's like in America. I don't know how it is, but like over here, it's like, Joe Biden could be the most competent person in the world, but it's still hilarious that you have an 81-year-old president.
Ugh.
To everyone. Doesn't matter whether you're left or right. It's still like, what the fuck is happening there? Because anybody who's 81 gets put in a home in this country.
Yeah, same. I honestly did not think he would survive to the midterms.
Neither did I.
Yeah, once like in the first couple months when he started falling up the stairs to Air Force One.
He did it again.
He did it again. I know. It's like Joe Biden versus stairs. He fell off a stationary bike.
His mortal enemy.
He fell upstairs off a stationary bike. Like the guy's incredibly talented. I didn't think he would make it to the midterms. I'm stunned that something that looks like him is still walking around.
Yeah. Well, they're pumping him full of something.
Did you see when he came out after the shooting in Nashville and it was like talking about chocolate chip ice cream for like 2 minutes?
Yeah, it was great. I fucking love this guy. I love that guy. I actually do, though. I am his biggest fan. I know I make sarcastic videos about it, but I really am. He's fucking great. He's like he just does. You can't tell what he's up to. He's like he starts pissing himself. It's like laughing hysterically about children being shot, and then it's like, give me some. Hey Jack, I want some chocolate chip ice cream now. You're like, this is fucking amazing.
It really keeps you on your toes.
Yeah, exactly. And he doesn't know he has no idea what is happening because he doesn't even know what a fucking trans person is. He has no idea, but he constantly talks about it.
He is gonna run again probably, which would be hysterical. Like this, you're teaching me how to enjoy this more than I do, right? So how to?
Yeah, well, you've just got to laugh because it's I just don't understand why. I mean, I can understand why somebody would be so exasperated about it and stuff like that. But it's like, in a day, you can't change shit. There's no point in caring.
It is technically still my country, but you're right. Like it is and it isn't. Like I live here, but I don't know that I feel the same attachment to America.
Well, it's the same here. And it's like everything's fucked. It's like we've always hated all politicians here, like I said earlier. It's like we have a different relationship with them here, but we all understand everything's equally fucked. It's all fucked. Like everything is falling to pieces. And after COVID, everything seems to be falling at pieces at a much larger rate. Like things are not happening. Like deliveries aren't being made properly. Everything is slightly off. It just nothing seems to have gone. It doesn't. Like we all have gone back to normal, but we haven't quite gone back to normal. It's like the infrastructure is just teetering on the brink of total collapse, and I think it's coming.
I think you're right. That's something. I live in Arizona. I live in Phoenix, and I've watched. I think of all the cities in America, Phoenix probably handled COVID the best of any city that I would want to live in. Like things slowed way down during those early days. About 3 years ago, I would go for walks in the evening and Phoenix is laid out like a big grid. It's just like a big grid. There's not any of those weird.
Yeah, I like that about our cities.
Yeah, and so I would go for walks at night, and I would be able to look down the streets in any directions and see no cars like anywhere.
That was really weird.
It was super weird. And then I've slowly gotten to watch the city kind of come back to life, and now I would say it's probably back up to full speed, at least 99, 100% of the way there. But you're right that there is this feeling that something isn't quite right, and I can't say what it is. Something's not fitting.
People
somehow.
don't give a fuck anymore. I mean, they don't care because the thing. I don't think the boomers, and I do blame the boomers for this because they're the ones in charge who will not fucking let it go, and they're the ones who are scared of the cold because they actually might die of it. And it's like, and they're like they gave people a respite of understanding that maybe work isn't that important. maybe my shitty job that pays me fuck all doesn't really matter.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was the one thing they did not bank on, because it's given a lot of people they have that 6 months off. And over here, we all got just given 80% of our money. Everybody's just like, oh, well, how much you earning? Let's say 2,000. Well, you can have 1,800 a month. And it's like the government just gave us that money for 7 months, and they gave us no one. That's never happened to human beings in the history of humans.
Right.
To just go, right, here you go. Here's fully paid 7 months holiday. I mean, we couldn't go outside or anything, but still a holiday, and you didn't have to do jack shit. And it's like, and he gave us that, and it was like, oh, our jobs are horrible. They're fucking awful.
Yeah.
And I think that's why you're going to see the infrastructure fall to pieces, because nobody cares.
That's a very interesting. That's a question that I've kind of sat with. Is last year during 2021 and 2022, most of the first half of 2022, there were all these people that didn't return to their everyday workaday kind of like jobs at the drugstore or whatever, and like all these different big businesses can't find people to take on these minimum wage jobs anymore.
Yep.
And how do you? But it actually, these people are required to make some of these, businesses work. How do you get them? How do you get them all back to work? How do you get things back to normal when people were just paid for doing absolutely nothing?
You don't.
Exactly.
That's the thing, you don't, because the jobs are terrible. That's the thing. The jobs are awful. It's like if you work for I used to run pubs, and I didn't used to pay people much, but the job is kind of fun because you can get drunk at the end of the night, once you're locked up and stuff like that. It's kind of fun, especially when you're a young person, because I only used to employ like young girls, like 18 to 21-year-olds, because they liven up bars, and they're the perfect people to work for bars. They've got a lot of energy.
Sure.
And it's kind of like a glamorous thing to work in these businesses. So it's slightly different for those kind of businesses. And that's kind of a fun job, because it is kind of fun because people are getting drunk and making fools out of themselves. So it's funny. But if you want to go to like work in a shop, you're getting paid the same amount I paid the person to work the fun job. And you're working in a shop, and it's fucking stood in front of a till, just going, hello, sir. Thank you. Bye. Thank you. Bye. Thank you. Bye. And then you've had 7 months off of it. It's like, it's going to be extremely hard to get back into that mindset of going, yeah, this is worthwhile doing.
Yeah.
Because you're going to go, why the fuck should I do this? Why should I do this? And why should they do it?
Why should they? Especially if they've gotten paid to sit at home for a number of months because
and the money is becoming worthless because they are not moving the minimum wage in this country. I know yours, I do not know how yours, you work on tips and all. It's so weird. I don't know how they work with shop workers or stuff. I don't know what to pay them.
I don't either.
But like here we have a minimum wage, which is a nice thing because they call it the minimum wage, which was never supposed to be called. It was never supposed to be used by employers as the minimum, as the wage they pay you. It was supposed to be, this is the bare minimum you were paying. But the actual living wage is totally different.
Yeah.
But like, this is what you legally have to pay them. But everybody just went, no, we'll just pay them the minimum wage, which is, again, fucked up. But why would you can't, they're not moving it with inflation. It's like everything, like a pint of milk here it was 50p in 2020. It's now £1.10.
Oh, wow.
So it's like, this is fucking nuts. And the minimum wage here was, the legal minimum wage, I think, was £9.52 in 2020, and now it's £10.52. So that has not moved. It should be £20 now, because the inflation is going so hard. Everything is literally double the price. So there's no point in working because you're still going to be in a hole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
you might as well claim unemployment benefits. You're still going to be kind of fucked. But like, you're not doing anything to do. You don't have to work.
And if you're saving, and if you're trying to save money and you put it in a savings account, inflation is higher than the interest rate. So
well, you've lost all your money.
Yeah, you're incentivized to just spend your money rather than save it. And if you can't save your money, then you can't do something like buy a house. If you can't buy a house,
there's no chance of buying a house here.
Yeah, it's
not for somebody on a minimum wage. You can't. that again, the housing market is gone. It's just so expensive because that's not bursting.
Yeah.
Because there aren't enough houses. They're not building any more houses. So the houses stay the same price. And it's like, well, how is anybody going to ever get out of the hole they're in?
I don't think they're supposed to.
No, they aren't. I mean, that's the thing. The boomers have fucked everybody.
Yeah.
And I think we should round up all the boomers and just kill them at this stage because they will not fucking die and they will not hand over the reins. That's the thing that annoys me. You've got people like Joe Biden, and I think it's like, there's no way that guy should be anywhere near it. There's no way Nancy Pelosi should only have just retired. There's no way any of these people should be anywhere near anything.
Yeah.
You're supposed to stop about 50 and then wind back and then fuck off. And it's like, but they haven't. They will not die or go away and stop taking our money. And they've ruined the world. They've totally ruined the world.
They did.
And it's all their fault.
It's hard to argue otherwise. Like I do offer a little bit of grace to boomers and say that they were the most psyoped generation in history, with mass media coming around in the 50s and 60s.
Well, they psyoped themselves. It was them who psyoped each other.
Exactly. But now the time is really necessary to wake up. But I think the big dividing line between the boomer generation and every generation that came after is they still totally trust all the institutions. Like, oh, the news.
They love them.
Why would the news lie? Oh, medicine's great.
Oh, my dad is like that.
Oh.
He was he's not a dumb guy. He's like 76. He's not a stupid guy, but he doesn't really know how to use the internet. I mean, he does a bit. He knows how to use Google to find out stuff that he needs to know. Like, I managed to drill that into him. But once COVID hit, he watched the BBC religiously, and they were super on the hype train of COVID. They had the death ticker that CNN had as well. And he was like, oh, it's so bad. It's so bad. It's like, do you know anybody who's got ill? No. Okay. But you still think it's bad? I'm like, yeah, well, the BBC says so. Why would they lie? And you're like, okay. And it's like, do you know anybody who's got ill from this? Still, 2 years later?
Yeah.
No. But you think it was a pandemic, do you? And you're like, well, no, I don't know. And I think he's coming around to the fact that maybe it was all a big fucking lie, but he won't admit it.
I think a lot of people are in that position.
Yeah, I think he understands because he got the first vaccine. He felt like absolute shit after it, like for a week, and he thought he was going to die. And I was like, well, you probably are. And then he wouldn't get the next one. He was like, no, I'm not doing that. And you're like, why? Why? I thought you should have gone, well, why are you being an anti-vaxxer? And he's like, oh, well, I just don't want to get it. I'm like, why? I'm like, well, I don't have to tell you about that. And you're like, okay.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah. He's just sulking now. He's like, right, aren't I? And he's like, no, it was a bad thing that happened. You're like, well, yeah, it was because they closed the country down for absolutely no fucking reason. Like, no, that's not right. That's not what happened. It's like, it is what happened.
It's so strange to think back to what things were like just 3 years ago. Just everything shut down, everyone freaking out. I had just moved in. I've told the story a number of times, but I had just moved into this apartment that I'm in right now. I had moved back. I was living in New Zealand, actually, and I had just moved back to the United States in February of 2020 before COVID happened. And I remember moving into this apartment the day the lockdowns came to Phoenix. And all I had was like a mattress and a box spring.
Oh, shit.
I had no yeah, exactly. And I had to go figure out how to put my life back together in Phoenix after everything was shut down. And I remember through the month of February, I would go to the gym, like the big LA Fitness, which is the big international, that big national chain. And very slowly people started wearing masks at the gym. And then all the gyms got shut down. And I was even staying with my dad in the gym at my dad's apartment complex, just this small little living room sized space with a couple machines and, a bike. They even closed that down. I remember all that happening and now it's like 3 years later and it's like, did that really happen? Like, remember that time that everyone got locked in their houses and under threat of like arrest or getting shot? You couldn't leave your house and you had to wear masks or people got really mad at you. Like, you remember that we all went
absolutely insane.
Insane. We all went through that and it's like, that really happened.
Yeah, it did. And it was the boomers. It was. It was them.
I don't disagree with you.
They were terrified of dying.
Is that it? Yeah.
Because it was literally because we all had the data and they could lie about all the data they wanted, but all the fucking boomers who were in charge of everything could actually see the data, and it was only their age bracket that was at risk.
Yes, that's true.
Because I don't think COVID was actually fake. I think it was a strain of coronavirus that was maybe a bit dodgy, because that's happened a billion times before. It's like it happens all the fucking time, and it always comes from China. And it's like, because it's a big country, and it's not to do with them like being. I don't believe any of this lab leak shit either. That's all fucking nonsense. It was just a strain of coronavirus that they overreacted to, and then once it stopped, because if you remember, everybody was laughing at it.
Yeah.
At the start. And it's like you had Nancy Pelosi going down to Chinatown to make out with Chinese people.
I know.
Because Trump said close Chinatown. And then they became the biggest COVID proponents. You had Boris Johnson in this country like laughing his head off that we were going to lock down the country. And then a lot of that, I mean, I do blame the boomers, but I also blame fat women. Because a lot of fat women on Twitter were absolutely screaming for a lockdown. And it's like social media did play a part of it.
Oh, yeah.
Where they were like, oh, you've got to lock us down. You've got to lock us down, because fat fucking women have got nothing better to do.
Honestly, like.
And it also made a lot of people fucking like feel like they've gone through a war. Yeah. I think that might have been part of a psyop to make them, we need something to scar them like World War II did.
I agree. I think COVID was primarily driven by nurses, flight attendants, and school teachers, all hysterical women. And there's a book about this by Dr. Mark McDonald I think it's called State of Fear. And he talks about how the only reason COVID was able to happen as a pandemic was because there were so many weak men that weren't able to check hysterical women all the way up to the very top, like all the way up to the very, very top. Like, no, you just have to stand up to this hysterical women and we'll be
slap them.
maybe stop short of that.
No, don't. No, I'm deadly serious. Anybody, all of these fucking teachers, and that's they're coming to revolution. Teachers first against the wall.
I agree.
All of them.
I agree.
I've never seen a lot of worse people. And they're women, of course.
The flight
and they think they're heroes, and they're paid well for doing absolutely fucking nothing.
Right.
For being babysitters.
Oh, and kids can't read or do math or at grade level anymore all across the country. It's been happening in the United States for years.
Women can barely read or do math. How do you expect them to teach it?
That's true. I think flight attendants are actually worse. I think that was actually to see the videos coming out and to fly, especially in 2020.
I never had anything like that though. I flew to Portugal there, and they said, and they said, oh, you need to wear a mask, and I said, I'm not wearing a mask. And they just went, oh, okay. Just left me alone.
Is that on the airline?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Nobody made me wear. Like, that's the thing. It's like, because in this country, it was not mandatory. It was they said it was mandatory, which is not a law. And like nobody ever, and also you weren't really, legally, you shouldn't be telling people to do anything either. But I mean, I know a lot of people. But I think you watched a lot of those videos where people were antagonizing others to do stuff. So I just didn't wear a mask at any point. I've never worn one. And you just walk around and like nobody ever did anything. There was a customer in a shop who said, why aren't you wearing a mask? And I was like, because I don't want to. And then they went, well, you should. And I was like, well, I'm not going to. And then they just walked off and left me. So
God luck.
That was the only interaction I ever had with anybody about it, because it's just like, what are you going to... That said, I'm quite a big guy. So like, you probably wouldn't want to pick on me and like try and bully me. But like, I don't know. And I had never had any of those experiences. I just didn't want to do it. If anybody asked me about would you wear a mask, no, and that was the end of the conversation.
Interesting. Okay.
Because I didn't ever put because you saw a lot of those videos where like, no, I don't want to, and then they'll explain why. It's like, don't explain why, just say no,
mm-hmm.
And then they can't go anywhere from there. Just like, no, I'm not doing that, and they're like, oh, okay, and then they'll move on to somebody else to bully.
Yeah, in the United States, like if you would get kicked off of airlines. People got, if you were on the ground, they would, turn the plane around and kick you off the flight, and then you could never fly on those airlines. Yeah, people went crazy about it. I mean,
but again, I don't know whether that's real.
That's true.
Because
I wasn't there.
saw a lot of that, and I don't know whether there's a lot that is fed to make you scared.
It's true.
Of things. Like there's a lot of things like they have fake trials, don't they? Like to make you scared of speaking your mind. Like I don't think that meme trial, that guy who's getting sentenced to jail.
No,
because he posted that Dylan was it Doug Mackey? Oh, he called himself Ricky Vaughn.
Oh, okay.
He got sentenced. He posted that meme about Democrats should go vote by text.
I did hear.
Now he got,
yeah.
Now he's been convicted of court. That's not real. That's a fake trial. I do not believe that at all because there's no law in the land which would do that. So they've got him on election interference, and I don't think that's correct. They're just because it's a blank. It's like I don't think half of these things are real. I think they're all little psyops to make you think and be scared. Like I think half of these things you saw about COVID, none of that happened because it didn't fit with any of them I've ever seen.
So it was all staged.
Yeah, well, a lot of it was staged because there's a lot of astroturfing.
Yeah.
Like I don't like Dylan Mulvaney. He's like if you look into his background, he's an ex-Broadway actor who works on the Book of Mormon, and but then he seems to have failed to get a job and just suddenly he only had a few subscribers and suddenly he had over 1 million within the space of a month. And it's like,
oh, okay.
He's a CIA plant or FBI plant. I don't know. They all seem like plants to me. And all this rage about COVID and stuff like that. It's like, because none of it made any sense. Because why would the person get rage and then come right close to somebody?
Mm-hmm.
Because I never saw any of that. And I carried on living my life exactly the same way as I always did, apart from having no business because they closed it.
Mm-hmm.
But I just went to the shops all the time. I did exactly what I was allowed to do. I was walking around all the time. The police never did anything. I never saw a policeman, because they were supposed to be patrolling everywhere. And it's like I think it was all self-policed by fear.
So you think it was all? I think a lot of it probably was. I know, for example, in Australia.
You have some incidents. I think you have some incidents. But I saw all of these incidents about people like these people going, oh, you've got to wear a mask, and then getting right in somebody's face. And it's like, well, that doesn't make any sense. If that person really cares about wearing a mask, then they're scared of a virus. So why are they getting in the face of somebody?
Oh,
I know they're stupid, but it makes absolutely no sense. They understand the concept of a virus hitting their mouth and breathing it in. So they wouldn't get that close to somebody.
I mean, do you think?
But you saw hundreds of videos like that.
Do you think that do you think that maybe the people are just unhinged authoritarians and they just need to bully rather than actually they don't actually?
Well, I think there's an element of that, yeah.
Yeah,
but I don't think it was as widespread as the internet made you think.
I mean, I completely can get down with all of that because again, that's the scariest thing about COVID. Is that everyone got forced into their homes and interacted with reality exclusively through screens. So you said earlier that COVID forced all the low wage workers home, and they learned that they could just get money from the government for free rather than showing up for a crappy job. And I think that, and I also have talked about in other situations that I think COVID really changed the way that white collar workers will do their jobs. Why should I go to a BS office anymore when I can just telecommute on Zoom all day? And I think that was an unforeseen consequence. But I think another unforeseen.
That's fucked the office as well.
And praise God.
There's no productivity.
Praise God for that, though. I think offices are generally terrible environments anyway.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. So, but I think another one that you just highlighted is that everyone started consuming reality through their screens, whether it be their phone, their laptop, or their iPad.
For the first time as well for a lot of people.
Exactly. And it's and so now 3 years later or 2 years since who knows, the lockdowns ended at different times around the world, but now everyone's still glued to their screens, to all these little dancing jesters who make all this noise about meaningless kind of topics. And we're still paying attention to them like they matter.
Yeah, and I think for the first time, a lot of boomers as well. That is a good point. because these people never interacted with the internet at all.
Oh, interesting.
I think a lot of them, they believe, like that goes back to when I said a lot of these people believe everything they see because they have no experience. Like, I don't know about you, but I've been on the internet since like the early 2000s.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like I've been like laughing at people for years on here. I mean, that's what it was for to start with. And then women turned up and ruined it. But they did. Like, and then they started trying to police everything. It was the women. It's like all the boys were having a good time laughing at stuff and going, look at these nerds. And then the women turned up and going, actually, that's offensive. And it's like, I don't want you to say it. And then they started fucking everything up. And they really did.
We had it good for a minute, didn't we, guys?
Yeah, we had it great. The golden era of just constant bullying and just being bros. And then women ruined it once again.
Good job, women. Thank you.
Good job. That's why I fucking love the trans movement, because fuck women. We're going to take over your spaces. Fuck you.
I think you may have talked me into being a fan of this now.
Yeah, I am a big trans. I always say it in my videos, I am a staunch trans ally. It's not sarcasm. It's actually true.
We're just taking back the spaces
for the wrong reasons, but like I do support them. Like,
we're taking back the spaces that you took from us.
Yeah, goddamn right we are, and we'll never give them back.
Oh man,
we always find a way.
We're creative.
Yeah, we are.
How can we take this back? We can become women. There we go.
Just wear a dress. And what are they going to do about it? They're going to say, "Oh yeah, this is great." And then when it gets too late, they're like, "Well, actually, how about I don't want this rapist in the toilets next to me. Tough luck. You're a bigot now."
we got them right where
Get wrecked.
We got them right where they want them, where we want them.
Yeah. It's going to be great the next few years because they're going to absolutely lose their minds because it's all their own fault. They brought all of this on themselves with their dumb shit. They called us Nazis. Like, oh, well, you're a Nazi for not thinking this. And like, okay, I am. Okay. Right. Now the trans people are here.
This is why.
Now you're going to be a Nazi.
That's where the term TERF comes from, trans exclusionary radical feminist. It's like you're a feminist who's pro-women but anti-trans people. Like, that's a whole thing.
Fuck you, women. They're gonna eat their own idea. All their dumb ideas always end up breaking themselves.
Let this be a lesson to you, women.
No, they don't learn anything. They'll keep on doing it. This is why we need to take their right to vote away.
That's a hot topic here too. Although there was a guy on.
It's not. It's just a statement of fact.
Well, this was something that this guy, Sovereign Bra, I think his name is Chase. He was on Tim Pool recently, but he had become popular after that. And I think he was the first person to actually raise that into the public dialogue and say also how there are plenty of women that want the 19th Amendment repealed as well.
Oh yeah, that dumb bitch, that redheaded libertarian. She's always talking about it.
I don't know who that is.
She's an idiot. She just takes selfies and then and she's a very old woman. She's like 40 years old and she uses a lot of filters. And if you point it out to her, she really screeches.
Like you're calling like Taylor Lorenz a very old woman?
She is an extremely old woman. What a lunatic that woman is. Again, an AstroTurf person. That's where she's from, one of the richest families in the world.
Is she really?
Yes. She's one. I can't remember, but she has the power to have things. She's had her entire family's history removed from the internet when people found it.
Really?
Yeah, an entire thing. They're super billionaires. Her uncle owns Wikipedia or something like that, and owns other very influential information sites. She's got everything. All her family tree is scrubbed, everything, because we found it. And then we found it, started releasing it on Twitter. Everybody who released it on Twitter got banned. And then and now she has no family tree. She's just a regular old girl who got her job not through nepotism, of course.
Of course, she descended from the heavens perfect. This is
She's just a good girl.
this is really helping crystallize for me, that all of these people that have so much presence online, that take up so much airtime, that are elevated to such status and become the subject of conversation, like they really do need to be scrutinized more highly and taken a lot less seriously.
But they're all fake, most of them. Well, especially the left ones. The left seem to be like strictly government agents.
Well, on CNN, like you see what happens to Anderson Cooper or Brian Stelter or Don Lemon or all these guys, like they're all falling. And what's the governor's brother? Of New York.
Chris Cuomo.
That's it. Him. They're all just falling like flies, and they just keep chugging along. They just keep somehow.
There's no consequences to any of this shit because they're all doing their job.
Right. Yeah.
They're all pushing the propaganda. No, it's like with the right. I'm not too sure. I think Tucker Carlson is a plant.
Maybe.
He seems to be sort of like brings up stuff that I don't know. I don't know about this plant. It's a bit conspiracy theory stuff, but like I don't know. There's a lot of psyoping. I think most of it is. I think a lot of them are like people like again reference Tim Pool. I don't think he is. I think he's just a fucking idiot who is being psyoped, but he is also grifting at the same time.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's being said. I don't think he believes half of the shit he says.
I think the game of most influencers is they find the point, they find the spot, the line that they can walk with their audience. So they walk right up to that line, and the line has related to what side of the political dialogue they're on, and they know.
I don't know if you keep track of Tim Pool, but he's gone like. Well, if he has a line, he is like he's extended it because he's got fucking nuts recently.
Yes, I have seen that. Like the Eliza Blue thing really kind of seemed to.
His views haven't really. Yeah, I think he got real butthurt because everybody was like just started saying you're a fucking weird shill. I don't know because this is not related to Eliza Blue, but maybe his views don't seem to be changing either. So I don't think he's like seen this gets super mega views. His views seem to be exactly the same. But he's gone bananas because I keep track of his channels because he's just like
material.
Bud like, and I just like laughing at an idiot. Like Bud, I don't watch any of his stuff unless it goes viral. It's a clip on Twitter. I can't watch half an hour of him screaming into a webcam about civil war. But like Bud Light trans ad backfires. Bars begin boycott of Anheuser-Busch products. Kid Rock slams company. Now that's not that now. That is a stupid because that trans advert did not backfire. That got absolutely 100% coverage on the internet for a couple of days. What did they pay Dylan Mulvaney? £20,000-30,000 for that? That's the most. He wasn't that much. It wouldn't be like I want £1 million because he's at the end of the day he's just a TikTok star. They don't command loads of money.
Maybe
they don't. It's like they don't earn any money.
It's true.
Like TikTok stars don't earn jack shit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like there's no monetization on there. But and that advert did not backfire. And bars begin boycott of Anheuser-Busch products. One bar will have done it to go to like get some likes on social media. And then Kid Rock slams company. Kid Rock got laughed at because he had such a tantrum. He got his AR-15 out and started shooting cans of Bud Light because of the Dylan Mulvaney advert.
I saw that.
And it's like, it wasn't funny. And it was just sort of like, this fucking idiot's having a tantrum. It's like, if you were funny, I'd probably be on your side because I don't really give a shit either way. But like, it was like, is he going to cry now? It's like, it was pathetic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I
don't think any of that was true, but he's going with he's outrage baiting constantly.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing that I watched happen to a lot of these commentators, particularly Tim Pool. Like, during the run up to, I think it was the 2020 election, it was. Oh,
that was great.
Oh yeah, we were watching that, and Tim Pool. Like, I was trying to figure out what the influencer game was. It's like it looked like a lot of these political commentators, they found the line that they could walk, and they would walk back and forth across that line, the limits of their acceptable dialogue. And it's a little bit like what's the limit of like Mike Cernovich is really good at this. Like he pisses off one group of people one day and then the other group of people the other day, and he goes back and forth. And it's a.
I can't figure him out at all.
Well, that's the thing is I think a lot of guys who get into that position, I don't know about him personally, but they don't really have principles anymore that they're advocating for.
I don't think he ever did.
Right, exactly.
Because he was a Jack Murphy style guy who did the exact same grift as him, but didn't really work the alpha male thing. Like, oh yeah, look at me, boys. Like with the blog. Apart from Mike Cernovich wrote about sucking trans people's dicks.
Yeah, reading that was a little odd. Like, I don't
while crying.
Right. Yes, that's well, like the Jack Murphy thing is a really good example. Like after I went into the liminal order and then I got kicked out, and then I found out about the wife swapping cucking thing later. Right. I was like, right. that came out way, way later. And so I was like, oh, I'm really glad I'm not in that organization anymore. But then this was still in early 2020 when I found out about that, maybe early 2021. But then you fast forward 2 years later, and then he blows up on the Blaze after going on Tim Pool. And that was like when that actually happened, when someone confronted Sydney Watson in the chat about that, I was like, oh, this should be interesting that someone's actually going to bring this up. And then everything melted down from there. And then, of course, all the things kind of came out and it got way, way worse and melted down like China syndrome all the way through the earth. And so, but it was great. Dude's still around, which is like, I don't know how you do that, but
we're not with great success.
Yes.
He's blocked me on social media.
Of course.
All social media.
He had blocked me for a while as well. He recently unblocked me, which I was surprised by.
Yeah, he unblocked me and then he blocked me again.
But these influencers, there's an interesting component to that game where it's like you have to begin to wonder, what do these people actually believe, or do they believe whatever is necessary to believe in order to keep
money?
Exactly. And in the meantime, the actual things going on with inflation and supply chain collapse and all these really significant aspects of our lives, we're distracted from all of them by these people that are performing on social media for money. And that's just a facet of our world right now. Now I see it very clearly.
Well, this is a grift that you see. Like, this is an extreme grift, but I don't know how much you're in. Have you ever looked on the others? There's like, what's his name? Gary V and Grant Cardone and people like that. Have you ever heard of them?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, well, they're equal grifters, but this is the same kind of grift where it's like really hypnotize an audience and sell them information products, which are just absolute fucking nonsense that you could just Google and find all the information from. But like, they're the same type of it's the same type of grift, except that this is outrage, but they're peddling. Oh, you can be an expert in business, and I'll teach you how to sell Amazon products, and you're like, but Tim Pool is saying he's an expert in business. He's like, I'm an expert in outrage, and I'm going to teach you how to survive a civil war. It's the same kind of grift. It's like hypnotizing people into going, no, you don't need to go anywhere else. Yes. I'll tell you how to fix the problem, even though I won't ever tell you how to fix the problem. But you need to super chat me. Whereas Grant Cardone will go, I'll tell you how to 10x all your money. Give me £2,000 for my course, though, and I won't actually tell you anything. I'll just ask for you to buy another course, which will definitely tell you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, it keeps it all in a loop. It's the same type of thing, but it's like the internet is full of all of this stuff.
The hustle grift.
Yeah, it's all a weird hustle.
No, I mean that's like a whole thing, like hustle and grind set. Like the guys who are like, if your circle of friends at age 25 isn't earning millions of dollars or isn't talking about this, then you need to get a good new circle of friends, and you need to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning and take an ice bath, and it's a whole mindset. They call it grind set kind of thing. And that's a grift that takes a lot of people. It's really, really profitable. In fact, I was talking to someone the other day. I don't remember what the circumstances were, and they were saying about some major influencer would have a conference, and in the room at the conference, there was a whole status thing regarding like they would sell their course, and the first person to stand up and go invest $5,000 in the course at this conference would have all this status. And so the desire for status, like what an incredible, like you're being socially shamed to go spend thousands of dollars on something like
it's nerds, isn't it? They've got no friends. That's what they're preying on. Is the people with no friends.
Yeah.
Because a real person would go, that's fucking stupid. I'm not giving anybody $5,000 for them to pat me on the back.
Right.
Fuck that. But a nerd who's like doesn't really know anything about anything, but he's also poor, but has $5,000. That's another thing. And they may have large chunks of money, but they're still poor. Well, they are after they buy the courses.
Right. Exactly.
But yeah, that's an even weird. It's not as funny. It's not as funny side of the internet as these ones, but it's definitely like Jordan Peterson is actually like coming to he's sort of like in between because he's the one selling books about how to clean your penis and whatnot. So he's kind of selling a course, and he also did his tour about like being a man.
Yeah.
So he's kind of like Grant Cardone. He's sort of like he's transcending the barriers.
Yeah, I mean,
but the internet is absolutely full of all of this shit because people will believe anything you tell them if they're fucking dumb enough.
Well, there's a book called The Sovereign Individual, which is all about how to make money essentially online. And so I think that that mindset is sort of pervading a lot of this. Like, well, how do you make money through the internet? Through attention. How do you get attention through the internet? Be controversial. How do you be controversial? Like you set up an outrage kind of cycle and then you monetize it. So I mean, they're just kind of farming, but I guess it's gone so widespread, and it becomes very dehumanizing as people start. It's an audience. It's not a bunch of people. It's an audience, and it's a market, versus something that actually does something real for people. It gives them. Here's what it is. It's that you give the people the feeling of connection or of something meaningful, which
that you're helping a cause.
Yeah, exactly. You're participating in something larger than yourself, right? And you give people that feeling of being part of some sort of online kind of movement, but it's completely dissected, divorced from reality. It's not actually. You go out and you walk around in the sunshine, and this movement becomes it evaporates totally. Versus if you're plugged in, then you're part of it.
It's like with the trans movement and stuff like that, because I keep on harping on about it, but that's all these people will talk about at the moment.
Yeah.
They constantly will not shut up about it. It's like you walk around and it's like, yeah, there's some reference to like, if you go to a corporate office, they will say about trans inclusion and stuff like that. But that's only because they have to. It's like they have to sort of like update it. It's like, if they're trans, don't bully them. But nobody was going to bully them anyway. It's like, because people don't actually do that when they're adults. You know what I mean? It's like, and it's not really the reality. It's like Tim Pool's reality that he's explaining to you. It's like they're not. It's not taking over the world. There's still only like fucking 0.0001% of them. It's like you'll most likely never meet one.
Right. Yeah. No, that's true. Like you mistake.
If you don't go outside, then like you don't know that.
Yeah, I mean, you can see that there are all these people online that are crying out all this outrage, like you've positioned the camera in a crowd of angry people, and the crowd of angry people looks like it's thousands, but when you actually pull back, CNN does this all the time.
Yeah, it's 20.
It's like 20 people. Yeah, exactly. And maybe that's a component of reality. It's like these influencers seem like a really big deal, but they're completely astroturfed. And there's maybe of millions of followers, maybe there's only a couple thousand or tens or 20,000 that are actually real people.
But 1 million across the world is fucking nothing.
That's true. But I mean, it's enough to make a living off of.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
But also, if I walked down the street and said, hi, do you know who Tim Pool is? I guarantee you 100% of people would say no.
That's true. Oh, yeah. No, I did when I started the Renaissance of Men, I did a survey about maybe 20 or 30 different male influencers to see if a random sampling of 100 men, I think it was 100 men, maybe it's 100 men and 100 women, had heard of them. And I was surprised that only it's a very high number, but it's not as high as I would have thought. Like only like 88 or 90% of people had heard of Joe Rogan. Now, that's a ton of people. Like if you survey 100 people and 90 people have heard of him, that's a pretty big deal, right? Like congratulations.
Yeah.
But that still meant that there are 10 people out there that's like Joe Rogan. They're like, yeah, I don't know who that is. right? And someone who's the biggest deal in the world, the biggest media property in the world, people still don't know who they are.
But most people, and I guarantee you, most people will know him through UFC.
Oh, I didn't ask how they had heard of him. Yeah.
No, but I would imagine they would know him because he's still the ring announcer for that.
That's true.
Not the ring announcer, he's still the interview guy.
Mm-hmm.
So I would imagine they would know him through that.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's really huge now. But I mean, do you know anybody who listens to Joe Rogan's podcast? I mean, I know he has the biggest podcast in the world ever, but I've never listened to it.
No, I've only watched a couple episodes, like one Jordan Peterson one from 2017.
Yeah, I watched years ago. I watched the Jordan Peterson one.
And then the Kanye West one. I watched that one. That's it.
Oh, I didn't even know he was on.
Yeah, he was on. It was sometime during 2020. He had Kanye West on.
Oh, okay. See, sometimes I listen to, like, I've seen clips of him sometimes. Sometimes funny things happen on the show. But he does like 4 podcasts a day. And
something like that.
Yeah, 4 3-hour podcasts a day. I don't know how he does it, but I've never listened to any of it. I don't know anybody who listens to it because it's fucking boring. It's like the most boring, all of it's dull.
I guess it depends on the guest, whether it makes headlines. I think at this point is the question.
Well, yeah, but I don't know. I don't know anyone who listens to it. Well,
that's true.
I mean, if people like it, then that's fine. I'm sure they do because Spotify gave them $100 million. But I don't think these things are as widespread as people think.
Yes, and that's one more reason not to take them seriously. It's that it seems like the biggest deal because everyone is talking, or everyone we know, I guess, let's say, is talking about it, or we hear people talking about it. But it's like, is there any there, right? And will you remember it in 48 hours?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I spent a large part of 2022 bullying Keffels. And it's like, I guarantee you, I could ask 1,000 people. I could ask 10,000 people where I live, and not one person would know who Keffels is.
True.
But it was a large part of my online life for a while because it was hilarious.
It was fun. And Joe Biden.
It was great. And Joe Biden, yes. Well, maybe everybody knows who he is.
Oh, at this point, I think you'd be blessed if you don't know who he is. Joe Biden? Who's that?
Nice. He's so funny. I mean, it's like the whole country laughs at him here.
I know.
It's so weird to see that man, a man that age as president.
He's just not. He's not home. There's no one home. Like, you can't look at this and be like, yes, that is a strong,
he's
confident.
Constantly baffled looking.
Yes. Baffled, mumbling. I mean, even when he was running for president, I think, or even before
he didn't do any campaigning. Well, he did the Truman Amsterdam pressure, didn't he? I don't know how to say it, but he did that thing when if I'm running Truman Amsterdam pressure. It's like, what the fuck? He didn't. What the fuck is that?
Well, and he said, I got hairy legs, and Corn Pop's a bad dude. It's like, what?
That was great. That fucking story was great. It was, he had a chain. I had to fight him. You're like, oh, what?
Everyone's just like, yeah, well, this is fine. It's like that
it's
that
fine.
cartoon. This is the baffling thing. I actually have to go in a minute, but this is the baffling thing. Is how people can look at this and say like, oh yeah, no, this is fine. Like the boomers in particular. Like we talked about that. Like, who knows if elections are real? Like, but let's just go with it. That it's the
imagine
right, exactly. So, like, but people would look at that, and I've actually heard people look at that and say, yeah, no, this is fine. It's no big deal. Like they wave it off. I don't understand it for a second. I like how they're not deeply troubled.
Because people don't want to admit to something being wrong.
Yeah,
that's a lot what it is. People have a defense mechanism where it's like, hold on, this fucking. I think a lot of COVID was like that as well, where people will not admit they were wrong.
Yeah.
Even if everybody just starts dying from the vaccine, they will never admit they were wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that's going to happen. Like, I mean, it'd be funny if it did, but I don't think it's going to happen.
It'd be funny if it did.
It would. Fuck them. My actual wish would be all the vaccinated, just like developing terrible problems.
Okay.
I don't care. They're to blame. They're 100% to blame for me losing my business. So fuck them. I want them to suffer.
Okay, I'm gonna make this into a clip.
Fair enough. But I do. Like, I mean, it would be the most karmic revenge ever.
True.
You're like, well, you lost me, bankrupted my businesses. Thank you, but no, you're disabled now.
So when you turn off the creation, when you turn off the video and you go to hang out with your buddies, do they get these sides of you also, or is this reserved for your online activities?
Oh, most people I know, I don't know whether this is, everybody knew that COVID was fake, and like one of the main things is like if you say I'm not vaccinated, I'm straight. And it's like, that's one of the main things that you say down the pub with my crowd. And it's like, because obviously I am straight, I'm not gay, so I would never get vaccinated. But
awesome.
But these like I don't know. It's just I tend to, I don't know what's happened. It's like, because I seem to hang around with people who sort of think like me.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, obviously, I have some disagreements, but nobody gives a fuck about politics. Everybody thinks everybody is an idiot when it comes to that sort of stuff. Nobody talks about stuff like that. Talk about sport and whatnot, but like everyone, 100% of all people I know, even in passing, think COVID was a joke. I've never really met anybody who was really scared of it, apart from like boomers like my dad, but like he wasn't that scared of it. He used to ring me all the time and talk to me about it, but when I saw him, he didn't give a fuck about it. So he's kind of a hypocrite in that way, where he's like, oh no, we've got to lock it down, and then he's like walk around with us like, why aren't you wearing a mask then? Oh, why would I do that? And you're like, oh, well, you don't give a shit about COVID, do you? You just want my business to go bankrupt, don't you, you little shit? And he's like, no, it's not like that. And it's like, well, you should be wearing a mask. I mean, I'm not, because I don't think COVID's real. But like, you should be, because you're the one who's all for like my business being closed. And all the boomers were fucking hypocrites. They're like, oh, well, I'm scared of COVID now, but now when I want to go do something, I'm not scared of it, and I don't care. And it's like everybody was a hypocrite about it. But yeah, no, I'm the same. I don't have the outlandish views about trans people, because most people find talking about trans people gross anyway.
Yeah.
So I never talk about that in reality because it's fucking gross.
Do your friends watch your videos? No,
nobody knows anything about my videos in real life.
Oh wow! So you like a little.
Yeah, I don't. Nobody knows any. Nobody is. I never told anybody about anything I do online. It's like I've never thought that was a good idea.
Telling them?
Like I don't. Yeah, well, I've never had a Facebook profile that had people I know. It's like I don't consider the internet to be anything to be interacting with people I know. I don't think you should be doing that.
Got it.
I've always thought the internet should be completely separate from your real life.
That's probably really smart. Probably very healthy.
Yeah, because I can do exactly what I want. I can't go as extreme. Like obviously like me and the boys talk about women being completely retarded, because they are, and we've all got girlfriends and wives. So obviously we can regale stories about how dumb they are, but I can't go as far as I do online.
Sure.
Like saying they shouldn't be allowed to vote, because I think they might disagree with me a bit there, but I'm correct. So, like,
objectively, we all know that you're correct.
Yes, everybody does, and everybody would admit it as well if they weren't thinking of their wives in the back of their head.
They would probably know that their wives, most of all, don't need to vote.
They don't need to vote. They don't even know what they're voting for. They don't. They fucking don't. There's no chance. Like, imagine how good the world would be if like my country hadn't had, what was it,
suffrage?
Yeah, suffragette or suffrage or whatever the word was. And you for some reason you bamboozled yourself and wrote the 19th Amendment. Like, what the fuck were you doing there? Like, you didn't even have to do that.
We were just following after England.
Well, yeah. Sorry about that.
As an American, I accept your apology.
Good. But still, there will be I reckon there may well be a time when we do take the voting rights off women.
Well, maybe.
Because we can.
If things get bad enough.
Well, we can. We can just do it. We can just go, well, no, you can't vote. And they go, well, we can. It's like, what are you going to do about it? Fight me.
That's when they say. That's when they send in the trans men.
No, the trans men will be on our side.
Are you sure?
Yes, because they're men at the end of the day. And we just go, look at those TERFs over there. They're bigots. No, because we will be fully trans like allies, like I am now. I am a trans ally. And we will be the trans allies that they need. And they'll be like, look at these TERF bigots over there. And it's like, we need to take their voting rights off them, Dylan Mulvaney. You go beat them up. And he'll just go wander around and right hook them. Because he may still be a little weird twink, but he could still beat any woman.
Actually, you're kind of right about that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it sounds like we've got a plan for repealing the 19th Amendment. Here we go.
Here we go. Yeah, I'll make a video about it. Let's see how long that lasts on YouTube.
Yeah, I just set a timer.
Yeah, I have said that a few times on there. You can get away with saying that on YouTube, even with the sneaky AI.
As long as you say it with a straight enough face.
Yeah, I imagine. Yeah, because I found out the AI is really like one of the things when I'm making Leah Thomas videos is like the AI will monetize you immediately if you just keep on saying how cool trans people are while absolutely ripping them. Like with my first Leah Thomas, I was just mocking her for having a penis, but I was doing it in a sarcastic way where I think the AI thought I was being serious and was really and was a trans ally because normally you have to wait like a minute for it to figure out whether it's going to monetize you, but like it monetized me within 10 seconds. And
really?
It's probably the worst video I've ever made because it's like the most offensive video I've ever made. Like if you listen to it properly, like because it's just I wouldn't make that video again because it was too mean. like it was just absolutely ripping on trans people like in a real mean way. I kind of didn't like the way I did it actually, but the AI monetized me immediately, and so I was like a real trans ally.
That's very interesting because I can't get YouTube to monetize my channel, and that's one of the things that it kind of baffles me that I've well-produced content that looks nice. All my top videos, they're all interviews with women. I don't talk about political issues directly very much, and I have been denied monetization twice, which I think is pretty weird. But then,
really,
yeah, I don't know, it might be for some technical reason, but it's something that I've been trying to figure out for sure.
No, but do you have a lot of like men I know why because they don't like they like anything about men. They went on a real weird thing, like because your podcast is all about men and like masculinity and stuff like that. Like, well, maybe not all about that, but like sort of
a
about
lot of
that.
it. But
yeah.
But all my top,
you put that in the titles.
Well, the Renaissance of Men. Yeah, that is.
Yeah. They went on a real weird like bender of like demonetizing all of those types of channels. Huh. I mean, I don't know whether you'd like. I don't know what you talk about in the other videos, but if you give the impression that you're kind of like in the manosphere, they won't monetize you because they just went full pelt and demonetized almost all of them.
Huh.
They demonetized all the big ones. Like it was like over a course of a weekend, and they never gave a reason for it.
Interesting,
because they didn't do anything. It was like they were just like sort of like They were just trying to be helpful type things. It's like it's not really content I listen to, so I don't know what they were doing. But I know that they weren't saying anything racist. They weren't saying anything as stupid as I say. And it's like they were just saying like how to help yourself and stuff like that is what I gather most of these podcasts are about. But I know they just went, no, that whole sphere of YouTube is just fucked, and they just nuked them all over a course of a weekend.
Yeah, because I just assumed that was why, but I mean, all my top episodes, like 3 of 5 of them, that's changed recently, but they were all interviewing women. Like that's the crazy thing is that I have this podcast about.
I don't think they view videos. I think they look at video titles.
Oh, okay. I don't go too crazy with that. But anyway, there are still guys that are much worse than me that are monetized. But I guess
But I'm monetized now, and I'm a lot worse than you.
Exactly.
Because I'm surprised they accepted me again. But I did this sneaky thing where I made because I was like, oh, I know my monetization is coming up. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a video about because I've always hated Tim Pool. And I was like, I'm going to make it, as soon as I get an opportunity, I'm going to make a video like really ripping on Tim Pool. So I made a video about Tim Pool, about Eliza Blue, and then I made a video about Jordan Peterson, which I think made everybody the size at YouTube happy. Because the two people they hate the most, well, they don't really hate Tim Pool because he's their little cash cow. But leftists fucking hate Jordan Peterson.
They do.
So I made a video hating on him, and I think that really gave me like the spur to get me monetized again. I'm pretty certain that video did that.
That makes sense because I was wondering how you would get reinstated, but I guess if you go after some of the favorite targets of your assigned agent, maybe they'll be your friend. Yeah.
I'm certain they did. I'm certain that, because there's no way they would otherwise. If you look through all my other videos that I've made something about one of my 7th last video is about Canada allowing suicide and how that's weird. And it's like, I mean, every leftist loves like people killing themselves. So like that wouldn't be. And then I made a video about that Senator Scott Wiener, the guy who made AIDS legal in California. I made a video about him, laughing at him. And then I made these videos about targeting the right-wing things, like some of my most recent ones. I'm pretty certain they just looked at those ones and went, "Oh yeah, he's ragged on Jordan Peterson. Okay, fair enough," and then just ignored the rest of the catalog. I'm sure they did because it took 15 minutes for them to remonetize my channel.
All right. Well, maybe I'll try again. Maybe I'll make a video.
I could do it.
Just make a video tearing down Tim Pool. And see what happens.
Yeah, do a video about Matt Walsh and how he's a fucking arsehole.
Any other?
And then I'd be like, oh yeah, because they really hate him now.
Okay.
He's taking it because Jordan Peterson just won't stop crying. So he's like, I think he's becoming a little bit of a bitch.
So now Matt Walsh is the new target.
Well, he's an arsehole though. He's actually, I mean, he may make sense, but he's an absolute. I fucking hate him. And he's like, I sometimes agree with some of the stuff he says, but it's like, I just don't understand why he is the way he is. Because he's like, there's no need to call these trans people. It's like, oh well, I just called him a man because he's a man. And you're like, well, yeah. And it's like, I don't know why you would do that. Just to sort of like, oh, look at this. I just called this mentally ill guy a man just to make him cry. And it's like, well, I like online bullying as much as the rest, but I don't really do that in real life, buddy. It's like, that's a bit fucking weird.
Oh, I see. I think... Go ahead.
That's what he's doing. He's going on a tour at colleges, and then he's making trans people ask him questions, and then he's like posting clips of him going, well, this trans person said something about being a something about her, and then he's like, well, you're a man, and I can totally see that you look like a man. And you're like, well... Everyone fucking can. It's like, I don't think you're helping anything.
I think this is part of it. I think part of it is like you pick the guy who says all the things in the political arena that you've always wanted to say, like sports. Like we started out the conversation talking about how in America politics is like religion. And I think a component of that is like the reason why people support Trump, for example, is that he's like owning the libs or whatever, right? So it's like, Trump says all the things that all the people who don't...
Making fun of fat women.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why I support them.
So it's like all these guys are on the stage to say the things that so many others wish that they could say and they can't. So if you see your guy saying the thing that you wish you could say to the person, then it's like, that's my guy. and I'm going to follow them like an athlete or like a sports team.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's probably.
But why would you want to do that though? Because it's just like that's what I don't get. Because he's done that. That's one of his latest Twitter video clips where he just goes, "Well, I just called him a man because he looks like a man." And you're like, yeah, I wouldn't want to do that. And it's like, I don't care whether he looks like a man. It's like I'm all for online bullying. And like, if somebody loses their mind online, I don't care because it's not real. And if you think it's real, then that's your fucking problem. I don't care about that. But like, I'm not going to walk up to somebody and then just go, "You're a man. And you trans man, you look like a man.
Mm-hmm.
How are you doing, Steve?" And you're like, why would you do that? That's weird. I find that bizarre because they weren't being particularly unpleasant to him. They just asked him a question. And it's like, there's no need. You look like the idiot. Like, to your supporters, you look good. Maybe. I don't know. Because I don't think you would look that good. But to the rest of the world, you look like a piece of shit. To even people who are bigoted against trans people will think you look like a piece of shit.
That was one of the things that when he did Matt Walsh did a recent video, and I think there was a lot of debate about whether he was being mean or nice or not. Like, is Matt Walsh being too harsh? And there was a lot of discussion.
Yeah.
You know.
But then he was like, "Oh, I'm the queen of mean." Well, he didn't say that, but that's what he is. He's like, "Oh, I'm the queen of mean." And you're like, well, why? What's the point?
Right.
Because online is different to real life. I wouldn't really want to go out of my way to make anybody cry.
That's a good point.
That's
like, we would be willing.
I don't quite understand.
We're willing to say things online to each other that we'd never say in person. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, yeah.
Because none of it's real.
Yeah, exactly. Like, none of it. How are you supposed to know? How are you supposed to, like, we take this simulated reality, you know, for better or worse, we take it seriously.
Well, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
It is simulated reality.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, do a video about Matt Walsh.
That'll get me monetized.
And then ask for monetization immediately afterwards, because you will get it. Because they fucking hate that guy. And to be honest, I agree with them. I hate that guy.
Well, unfortunately, I have to go, but I have an appointment to get to. But this has been great. I didn't expect that we would go so far and cover all the topics that we have, but this has been a lot of fun. So thank you, James.
Yeah, no, it really has. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, for sure. So where would you like to send people to find out more about you and what you do?
Subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's at Cool Hand James. We got ats now, haven't we? We got like Twitter on YouTube because they gave us our handles, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's at Cool Hand James.
Excellent.
And that will go straight to my channel. And at Cool Hand James 0 on Twitter if you want to see me. I don't know, bullying people.
You can see Cool Hand James 0. I can see you in the photo of you in your admiral's outfit with your pronouns.
Yeah, that is me.
It looks just like,
it's literally me. We're just different in the UK.
It's just built different.
Yeah, follow me, but don't be bigoted. I'm different.
All right, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you, mate. It's been fun.
Yep.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Renaissance of Men podcast. Visit us on the web at renofmen.com or on your favorite social media platform at Ren of Men. This is the Renaissance of Men. You are the Renaissance.